Chapter 56. Big Brother Tang Feng. Is that dragon tendon grass in that kid's hands? Among the dozens of candidates, someone immediately discovered Lin Chen's position and situation. Hiss. So many portions of dragon tendon grass. There should be at least 100 portions, right? No. Big Brother Tang Feng. That kid is the freak who defeated the demonic dragon python in one move at Tongxian River. Some sharp-eyed candidates immediately recognized Lin Chen's identity and exclaimed, "So it's him. No wonder he found so many dragon tendon grass. Everyone, hold back for now. Li Zheng, go and inform the other two candidate teams. Also, call Yin Xiaoqiu and Sunflower Prince over. We'll attack together and take all his dragon tendon grass." Sky Dragon Mountain Range's eastern district, in a withered forest, a cold-looking youth stood with his spear behind his back. Two young geniuses appeared before him like flickering lights and passing shadows. They cupped their fists and spoke respectfully. "Prince Yin Xiaoqiu, our big brother Tang Feng has an urgent cooperation with you." Cooperation? At the eastern district of the mountain range, an enchanting young master dressed in a sunflower robe was standing by a lake. He was wearing a long sunflower robe, and his fingers were raised like an orchid flower. He was carefully observing himself in the lake, and he was intoxicated by it. Beside him, two other candidates were standing restlessly. After a while, the enchanting prince revealed a smile and chuckled. "Over 100 portions of dragon tendon grass? Defeated a Class 4 dire beast? Interesting whoosh!" With a flick of his fingers, the enchanting prince disappeared like a ghost. As for Lin Chen, he already knew that there were 3 candidate teams surrounding him. There were a total of 100 people, and all of them were at least at spirit detecting stage 7. "Since you want to wait, I'll wait with you. Take your time." Lin Chen picked up 10 skewers of spicy grilled dragon tendon grass and ate heartily. Since the moment they started monitoring Lin Chen, all the candidate teams were shocked. This guy was actually grilling such an important ingredient, and it was the key ingredient to pass the exam, dragon tendon grass. If not for their fear of Lin Chen's strength, they would have already rushed up and snatched it. "He's actually grilling dragon tendon grass. Oh my God! Where did this lunatic come from? This is a precious medicinal ingredient that can be exchanged for credits." Motherf **Ker. He's already eaten more than 20 skewers. He's finished all 4 of the passes. Let's just fight our way up. The move he used to repel the demonic horned python might be a life-saving trump card, and he might not be able to use it now. Every time Lin Chen ate a skewer, the team that ambushed him felt a heartache. When he had eaten more than 60 skewers, someone was about to lose his patience. The spirit storage ring flashed, and Lin Chen took out another 100 portions of dragon tendon grass, completely stupefying all the candidate teams. Where the hell did he get so much dragon tendon grass? Are we participating in the same assessment? He could probably pick up a bunch of dragon tendon grass from anywhere he wanted. They didn't lie to me. You really do have a lot of dragon tendon grass. The leaves fell and the night wind was bleak. 100 steps away from Lin Chen, an enchanting young master stood with a sword in his arms. He sized up Lin Chen with great interest, and when he saw the dragon tendon grass beside the grill, a hint of greed flashed across his eyes. "It's the desolate region's top 10 rookie swordsman, Sunflower Young Master." The candidates' morale was boosted, and they began to reveal themselves. "I want 30 portions of this brat's dragon tendon grass." A gust of wind blew, and the young man's figure stood straight. He walked with a spear on his back, and his cultivation was similar to Sunflower Young Master's. He was an expert at the 5th level of the Battle Soul realm. "Yin Xiaoqiu, I didn't expect you to come as well." Sunflower Young Master chuckled, and fear flashed across his eyes. "Thank you for coming. Today, I hope everyone can give me some face and share the dragon tendon grass with my friend." Tang Feng led the last candidate team and slowly walked out. He cupped his hands and smiled. Tang Feng with 3 hands? Fine, I'll give you some face and capture this brat first. The two of them looked at each other. Among the young geniuses present, only Tang Feng had the qualifications to be on equal footing with them. These 3 geniuses were considered the top in the entire desolate region. The so-called Bai Xiaowei was not even qualified to carry their shoes. I say, have you guys finished distributing the dragon tendon grass? I'm just full and want to warm up. I thought you guys were going to squat until dawn. Lin Chen slowly put away all the dragon tendon grass. Then, he hooked his finger at the 3 leaders and chuckled in a mocking manner. You know we're ambushing you, and you still dare to be so calm. You're courting death. Tang Feng laughed sinisterly and took the initiative to strike first. A blood-colored battle chi palm stretched out like a claw, launching a surprise attack on Lin Chen. Battle Soul Realm. The battle chi in the body transforms into a battle soul crystal, and the battle chi materializes for the first time. The power of the battle chi increases sharply. Force him to use his trump card. Tang Feng shouted coldly. Over 100 young geniuses activated their battle techniques, and their momentum could be said to be overwhelming. The wind and clouds within a radius of 10 miles changed. Cold condensing sword art. Soul extinguishing spear. Yin Xiaoqiu and Sunflower Lord used their ultimate skills. Sword and spear lights were like coiling dragons as they pointed at Lin Chen. The ground cracked, and mountains and forests were destroyed in just a breath's time. Such a complicated torrent of attacks was not inferior to the power of a Class 4 dire beast. It might even be stronger. I've been waiting for you guys to make a move. You guys are in trouble today. The azure dragon tattoo on Lin Chen's left arm flickered. The azure dragon arm was like a horned dragon as it furiously struck out. It swept across the land and crushed all the battle chi attacks within 100 feet of him. The azure dragon arm's strength reached 200,000 tiger force, and it crushed all the attacks. The azure dragon arm slapped down furiously, and Tang Feng, Sunflower Lord, and Yin Xiaoqiu, who were standing at the front, were all sent flying. Isn't this his trump card? How can he use it so skillfully? Tang Feng, who was vomiting blood, was shocked. At this time, Lin Chen had already put away the azure dragon arm. With the 7-star soul snatching spear in his hand, he turned into a flash of wind, thunder, and fire, killing his way into the group of young geniuses. Soul-snatching spear rain. The needle-like sharpness was like a torrential downpour of pear blossoms. A single move sent dozens of people flying, and a few of them were severely injured by Lin Chen's spear light. In just one move, they were sent flying and fell unconscious. Long silver sky-splitting sword. Over a dozen young geniuses drew their swords and formed an encirclement sword formation. The snow-white sword light that was flickering with silver light came at Lin Chen, sealing off all his escape routes. Demonic Battle Fire King imprint. Battle Chi burst out from his palm as a 50,000 Tiger Force Battle Chi imprint was blasted out. It shattered the sword formation with a single palm and forced the dozen young geniuses back, causing them to vomit blood as they retreated. With just Lin Chen's pure strength, he was already able to go head-to-head with a first-level Earth Realm martial artist. Coupled with his peak-grade green tier combat skill, he was practically unstoppable in this group of people. These examinees might have high innate talents, but they were at most at the second level of the Battle Soul Realm. Most of them couldn't even last a single move from Lin Chen. Over 100 examinees were sent flying by Lin Chen alone. Large amounts of attribute light balls fell and piled up on the ground. They were colorful and dazzling. Chapter 57. Berserk Demon Spear. A faint line of blood tore through the air. The line of blood was extremely fast, like a bolt of lightning. Along the way, it instantly cut down a 1,000-year-old ancient tree. Lin Chen squinted his eyes. His 5 fingers moved, and the soul-seizing spear spun around, thrusting out. Clang! the two spears clashed. The tip of Yin Xiaochou's spear and the soul-seizing spear collided. Lin Chen's battle aura cultivation was far inferior to Yin Xiaochou's, but with the support of pure strength, he was able to push him back. Sunflower 3 Absolute Swords. Right after Yin Xiaochou was repelled, Tang Feng and Sunflower Young Master flanked Lin Chen from both sides. The sky was filled with blooming sunflower phantoms, each phantoms containing hundreds of killing intents, and a large amount of sword qi was exterminating. Fatal soul-seizing. Lin Chen threw out the 7-star soul-seizing spear with one hand. It turned into a meteor and flew out, piercing through the sunflower sword energy and exploding into starlight. 10 piercing blood hands. Tang Feng attacked Lin Chen from the left. His 5 fingers were like blades, and a vast demonic killing intent rolled out, aiming for Lin Chen's heart. Piercing your head. His left fist was like a giant hammer that could destroy mountains. Lin Chen slightly activated the Azure Dragon bloodline, and the strength of his left arm increased to 90,000 tiger power. Suddenly, he violently hit Tang Feng's hand blade. Bang! Crack! The sound of bones cracking was hair-raising. Tang Feng was like a kite with a broken string, falling to the ground. Ah! My hand! Tang Feng held his bent and deformed arm and rolled on the ground in pain. Lin Chen landed on the ground, and the whole place was filled with cries of pain. Many young talents were lying on the ground, unable to move. After Yin Xiaochou and Sunflower Prince were pushed back by Lin Chen, they instantly escaped and disappeared without a trace. The 3 top geniuses of the wasteland: Sunflower Prince, Yin Xiaochou, and Tang Feng. One injured, one escaped, and one was disabled. In addition, he had fought against over 100 examinees by himself. When this kind of battle record fell into the eyes of the examinees, they were all shocked and panicked. This Lin Chen was simply so strong that he was comparable to a monster. Lin Chen looked disdainfully at the entire field. No one dared to look him in the eye. Many of the examinees were trembling in fear. This demon wouldn't kill them, right? Although the rules of the examination stated that killing was not allowed, who would use common sense to predict this fellow's actions? He was a monster that ate dragon tendon grass like barbecued meat. Lin Chen began to bend down and pick up the many attribute light balls. He couldn't be bothered with the examinees lying on the ground. Host has received 185 points of spiritual power. The host has received 7,985 cultivation method soul essences. The host has received 12,576 battle chi essences. The host has received a top-tier green battle skill, Heaven Seal Sword Technique. Lin Chen absorbed a large number of attribute balls into his body, as well as a series of treasure chests. These attribute light balls were dropped by the examinees. Most of them were battle chi essences and cultivation method soul essences. This was also one of the important reasons why Lin Chen wanted to fight with them. The attribute light balls dropped by the beasts were mostly the 5 elements or blood energy. There were less cultivation method soul essences and battle chi essences. As for Lin Chen's mysterious spiritual power cultivation method, the Genesis Holy Scripture required a large amount of cultivation method soul essences to reach a higher level. Other than that, his cultivation realm also required a large amount of battle chi essences. The appearance of these examinees just happened to fill in the gaps in his cultivation. These examinees' cultivation realm were all higher than Lin Chen's. Their cultivation method was also not bad, so the battle chi essences attribute light balls they dropped were all different from normal people. The value was very high. Host has received a total of 116,000 cultivation method essences, 240,000 battle chi essences, 25,400 gold energy points, 29,800 wood energy points, 34,100 water energy points, 27,700 fire energy points, and 23,100 earth energy points. The host has absorbed all the battle chi essences and advanced to the 4th and 5th level of the spirit detecting realm. Many of the examinees lying on the ground looked at Lin Chen in shock. He bent down and touched the air. He actually broke through to the 5th level of the spirit detecting realm in one breath? After absorbing all the attribute light balls, the true water origin techniques realm increased by another level. His cultivation realm also increased by 2 levels. Lin Chen patted the dust off his body with satisfaction. Just as he was about to leave, he saw Tang Feng's venomous and resentful eyes. It seems like you're not convinced. Although it was thanks to you that I was able to break through, that claw of yours was meant to take my life. Lin Chen walked in front of him and said with a smile. Tang Feng laughed maniacally. Brat, don't be so proud. You can't kill people in this exam. My cousins are both in the inner court of the Heavenly Song Academy and are famous people. If you give me the dragon tendon grass now, maybe I can let bygones be bygones. Otherwise, when you enter the academy, I have 100 ways to kill you. You have 100 ways to kill me? Lin Chen pretended to be frightened and then revealed a sinister smile. I'm afraid you don't know that I have 100 ways to cripple you right now. Crack! The sound of bones breaking rang out again, and Tang Feng's screams echoed in a radius of more than 10 miles. Until Lin Chen left, all the examinees felt cold and their teeth chattered. Early in the morning, more than a dozen teachers and elders arrived from the sky on lion eagles. When they saw the large amount of examinees on the ground and the shocking traces of battle, they all looked at each other in shock. The bald old man in the lead stepped on the air and landed on the ground. His old eyes narrowed slightly as if he had seen the intense battle that had happened here. After a while, the bald old man exclaimed. He killed more than 100 examinees by himself and even fought against 3 talented youth. He still obtained an overwhelming victory. Not simple, not simple. On the second day of the assessment, Lin Chen started to rush to the central area of the Sky Dragon Mountain Range. He had already collected the dragon tendon grass that he needed for the assessment. The many heaven and earth treasures in the Sky Dragon Mountain Range were his target. He wanted to plunder them well so that he could use them for alchemy in the future. With a secret technique like the purple gold eyes, Lin Chen found heaven and earth treasures as easily as taking something out of a bag. In just 2 days, he had collected all the high-grade herbs in the east and south districts into his spirit storage ring. When everyone was looking for the dragon tendon grass, he had already made a fortune. On the morning of the 4th day, just as Lin Chen was about to go to the western part of the mountain range to plunder more medicinal herbs, he noticed a majestic dragon chi rising from the center of the Sky Dragon Mountain Range. It lingered in the 9 heavens and did not dissipate. What's this? Lin Chen was shocked. When he activated the purple gold eyes, he found that he could not see through the thing hidden in the dragon aura. Could it be that some extraordinary item has appeared? Let's go take a look. Lin Chen turned and went to the central area of the Sky Dragon Mountain Range. At noon, in the central area of the Sky Dragon Mountain Range, there was a mountain peak that reached the clouds. It was like a tiger crouching and a dragon coiling between heaven and earth. It was extremely steep and the mountain was vertical. There were only a few steps for one to stand on. The peak of the mountain had pierced through the clouds, and the peak could not be seen. In addition, beside this mountain, there was a small volcano with a majestic aura. The volcano was emitting blazing fire element energy. At the foot of the steep mountain, many people gathered. Most of them had retreated to the foot of the mountain and were looking at it in amazement. There were dozens of people standing at the foot of the mountain. There were both men and women, and they were all examinees who were taking part in the assessment. They had an extraordinary aura. There were dragons and phoenixes accompanying them. They had a dignified appearance, and there was arrogance and disdain between their eyebrows. These dozens of people were basically the top group of martial arts prodigies from the east, west, north, and south districts of the Sky Dragon mountain range. Chapter 58. Among the group of people at the foot of the mountain, other than Bai Juanhao, the lowest cultivation was at the 5th level of the Battle Soul realm. The oldest was no more than 25 years old, and they were all geniuses that could only be born out of tens of millions of people. At this moment, this group of geniuses were all carefully sizing up the extraordinary mountain in front of them. This is the true Dragon Mountain. Legend has it that it is 88,000 meters tall and has more than 9,600 steps. The higher the steps, the greater the recognition of the true dragon. A white-clothed young master smiled while holding a fan. His eyes flickered with a strong fighting spirit. Lin Zihao, what's wrong? You can't hold back anymore? The girl behind the white-clothed young master covered her mouth and chuckled. There was a sense of arrogance between her brows. Hee, we naturally have to give it a try. It is said that no one has ever reached the top of this mountain. The highest record is 3,781 steps. There are still 2/3 of the way to the 9,600 step. The higher the height, the stronger the dragon's might will be. Those who can withstand the dragon's might will be baptized by the true dragon. Only then will they be a true genius. The geniuses looked at each other and were ready to make a move. Those who could stand here were all the top geniuses of the wasteland. They were not convinced by each other, but they couldn't fight one by one to determine who was better. Therefore, the competition on the true Dragon Mountain was the ranking of this year's top geniuses. Whoever climbed the most steps would be the number 1 freshman of the Heavenly Song Academy. Swish! Sword light flashed, and a red-clothed young man with a sword on his back leaped up and landed on the 10th step of the stone platform. It's the number 1 sword genius of the South Moon City, the blazing swordsman, Xiao Yu. The surrounding examinees exclaimed in surprise. Xiao Yu walked as if he was flying, jumping up from the 10th step of the stone platform. In one breath, he climbed more than 100 steps. Let's go up too. A few geniuses rubbed their fists and were eager to give it a try. They jumped onto the stone platform of the true Dragon Mountain together and followed closely behind Xiao Yu. All the geniuses of the wasteland jumped onto the stone platform. The dragon and the phoenix followed, rushing up the true Dragon Mountain together. This scene attracted more and more examinees to stop nearby to witness this battle that only belonged to the geniuses of the wasteland. 30 miles away from true Dragon Mountain, on top of a cliff, 2 beauties, one green and one purple, were wearing veils, hiding their true appearances. Seeing that the prodigies had already begun to charge towards the true Dragon Mountain, the green-clothed girl smiled mischievously and said, Hee, big sister, do you think the 2 of us will directly reach the top if we go over? The purple-clothed woman smiled gracefully. Qing don't be rude. Everything in the world has spirituality. We have to look at all things that have existed for a long time with equal gazes because every single one of them has their own heritage that has been passed down until now. They cannot be underestimated. TSK, how can those ugly melons and dates compare to me and my sister Aya? Just let Qing play for a bit. The green-robed girl hugged the purple-robed girl's arm and acted coquettishly. The purple-robed girl's slender fingers tapped her snow-white forehead and warned her in a slightly serious tone. Qing don't make a fuss. This time, we definitely can't reveal our identities. Being able to make the vice-headmaster give us a way out and allow us to enter this place for a tour is already a very good result. Hearing the purple-clothed woman's warning, the green-clothed girl stuck out her tongue and didn't dare to mention it again. I wonder if that Lin Chen will appear. My sister and I specially came here for this. If he doesn't appear, I'll personally beat him up until he comes to see my sister. The purple-robed girl could only shake her head helplessly at the green-clothed girl's playfulness. True Dragon Mountain. 4 hours had passed, and the geniuses who were climbing the mountain began to gradually reach a bottleneck. Some had already stopped at the 1000th step of the stone platform, panting like cows and sweating profusely. Some had already reached the 2000th step. Although they hadn't reached their limit, they also began to show signs of fatigue and exhaustion. The dragon's aura washed down like a tide. Every time the stone platform was raised, a soul-shaking dragon's aura would emerge. It was all-pervasive, invading one's flesh, blood, spirit, and even battle chi. Under the suppression of this dragon's aura, not to mention moving, even maintaining a clear mind was extremely difficult. Many geniuses who had reached their limit could only sit down cross-legged on the ground and use the dragon's aura to help them refine their battle chi, making it more condensed and no longer difficult to break through the current bottleneck. This kind of opportunity only came once. After climbing the true dragon mountain a second time, the effect of the dragon's aura refining battle chi would be minimal. South Moon City's Xiao Yu has already reached the 3500th step. Dragon Sun Empire's Blue Dragon Crown Prince is only 10 steps away from Xiao Yu. Ice Palace's Lady Ling is also on the 3400th step. The candidates outside the true Dragon Mountain were all excited. The highest record in history was 3,781 steps. This time, there were actually 3 top geniuses who had stepped onto the 3000th step of the stone platform. Perhaps there would be a new record because of this. Everyone's attention was focused on the 3 figures at the top of the mountain. An afterimage of a sword light was like lightning. After a few twists and turns, it surpassed the 3 most anticipated people in one breath. "Who is it?" all the candidates exclaimed. Even the teachers who were watching couldn't help but be surprised. The dragon's aura above the 3500th step was already very terrifying. There was actually someone who could use a movement technique and move at such a fast speed? That person was dressed in a long green robe with a 3-foot-long green sword hanging from his waist. His eyes were bright like stars as he looked down at everyone from high above. From head to toe, he emitted a peerless and sharp killing intent that was dazzling to the eyes and horrifying to the extreme. This person's sword was not out of its sheath, but it was already peerless. If he unsheathed his sword, wouldn't the wind and clouds change? I remember it now. It's Lu Jianqing from the Drunken Immortal Sword Manor. A peerless genius who appeared out of nowhere half a year ago. He's known to have the bloodline of the Sword King. 2 young candidates seemed to have recalled something as they exclaimed in unison. Bloodline of the Sword King? Hearing this name, all the candidates could only look up at Lu Jianqing in the sky. They couldn't even think of anything illogical. Lu Jianqing's aura was like tens of thousands of swords shooting out at the same time. Even a strand of his hair was as sharp as a sword. He was like a battle soul stage cultivator at the same level. He probably didn't even need to unsheath his sword. A bunch of ants. I'm the one who's going to reach the peak of the Waste Realm. Lu Jianqing looked down at Xiao Yu and the Blue Dragon Crown Prince who were beside him. Then, he jumped into the air and jumped to a higher position on the stone platform. "How dare you talk to me so rudely? After we get off the true Dragon Mountain, I'll teach you a lesson, you bastard!" The Blue Dragon Crown Prince shouted angrily. On the other hand, Xiao Yu looked serious. It was already very difficult for them to reach the 3570th step. They didn't expect Lu Jianqing to be able to do it so easily. In the end, Xiao Yu stopped at the 3605th step and failed to break the record. The Blue Dragon Crown Prince was 15 steps behind. He could only sit cross-legged on the stone platform and take the time to rest. Lu Jianqing ran like a hot knife through butter. Under the witness of all the candidates and mentors, he reached the 3951st step, which was more than 100 steps higher than the previous record. It shocked everyone. Looks like there's going to be another peerless warrior in the Waste Realm in the next few years. I think there's no need for this kid to stay in the outer yard. Let's bring him into the inner yard. Only the older students from the inner court can suppress him. Many mentors and elders nodded in approval. They had high hopes for Lu Jianqing. With this kid's talent, he can only occupy a small space in the waste realm. The peerless warrior you're talking about is just a slightly stronger ant in some people's eyes. At this moment, the vice principal who was sitting on the clouds spoke. Many mentors looked at the vice principal in surprise. The vice dean muttered to himself as he gazed at the cliff not far away with a deep gaze. Someone who can stand at the peak of the world and become a peerless warrior has come to our inner yard. As soon as the vice dean said this, all the instructors kept quiet out of fear. Their expressions were filled with fear. Chapter 59. Lu Jianqing had appeared out of nowhere and suppressed everyone. There was no suspense. Just when all the spectating candidates thought that the battle between the new geniuses had ended, a ghostly figure appeared at the bottom of the mountain. So it's a mountain. I thought some treasure had appeared. The silver-robed youth shook his head in disappointment and sighed. All the candidates were bewildered. Who is this guy? When did he get there? Isn't this the pervert who wanted to molest teacher Li Ruoyan? Damn, it's really him. Pervert, get out. Don't insult True Dragon Mountain, this sacred place. Get out, get out. Lin Chen still hadn't figured out what was going on. The candidates outside True Dragon Mountain were all shouting for Lin Chen to get out in disdain, making him confused. Nowadays, people are jealous of just being handsome? The green-robed girl on the cliff outside True Dragon Mountain exclaimed. Sister, it's him. He really came. The purple-robed girl smiled elegantly and nodded. His left arm has the bloodline of the Azure Dragon. His body refinement foundation is strong, and his cultivation is at the spirit-detecting realm. It's exactly the same as the information provided by the City Lord of Wanling City. Looks like it can't be wrong. Those candidates who were instantly defeated by Lin Chen looked at Lin Chen in fear. How did this devil find his way here? The bald elder in charge of the test had a gleam in his eyes. It's actually this brat. He's the monster who fought the three geniuses alone. So they didn't want me to get close to this place and wanted me to get out. Since you don't want me to go up, I'll go up. Lin Chen chuckled and jumped into the air. He made a few turns in the air and landed steadily on the stone platform of the 30th step. The moment he stepped on the stone platform of True Dragon Mountain, the dragon's aura was like an all-pervasive hurricane. Lin Chen felt an invisible pressure on his head. Roar! Just as this oppressive feeling appeared, the Azure Dragon tattoo on Lin Chen's left arm emitted a low roar, forming a vortex that actually absorbed all of this dragon might into the Azure Dragon's arm. The pressure on Lin Chen instantly lessened. Following the absorption of dragon's might, Lin Chen discovered that his Azure Dragon arm was beginning to awaken a vague memory. This dragon might actually makes my Azure Dragon arm feel sublimated. Licking his lips, Lin Chen was overjoyed. He didn't expect that there would be such a fortuitous encounter on this strange mountain. Boom! This time, Lin Chen seriously exerted his strength. A terrifying power suddenly erupted from the soles of his feet. With the agility of his movement technique, he instantly rushed up to the 500th step of the stone platform. Along the way, he turned and changed directions at lightning speed. His speed was so fast that many of the instructors were shocked. The Azure Dragon arm released a whirlpool-like suction force, swallowing all of the dragon might and dragon chi. Lin Chen was like a hot knife through butter, rushing to the 1000th step in the short span of 10 breaths, arriving at the first batch of Desolate Realm prodigies. 5th level of the spirit-detecting realm? What is going on with this brat? The 5 prodigies at the 1000th step of the stone platform were dumbfounded. Lin Chen's speed was as fast as lightning as he swept past the stone platforms beside them, advancing to even higher places. Bald Elder, what kind of monster is this brat? Some of the instructors sitting on their griffins were shocked speechless. The bald elder floating in the air let out a strange laugh. This is nothing strange. This brat was able to solo over 100 candidates and defeat 3 top prodigies of the desolate realm. If he doesn't even have this kind of speed, then it would be too much for him. Hearing Bald Elder's reply, some of the instructors who saw Lin Chen for the first time had expressions of disbelief. Just a 5th-level spirit-detecting realm cultivator was able to solo over 100 candidates? Lin Chen was like a hot knife through butter, rushing all the way to the 2000th step of the stone platform. Bai Juanhao was at the 245th step of the stone platform. He was the youngest prodigy to reach the top of the true Dragon Mountain. At this moment, Bai Juanhao was sitting cross-legged and focused. It was obvious that as a Azure Dragon bloodline holder, he had also had a fortuitous encounter here. Lin Chen smiled at this and increased his speed. Even when he reached the 3000th step of the stone platform, his speed still didn't decrease. 3,200 steps. His potential is actually so terrifying. Li Ruolian, who was participating in the invigilation, trembled slightly and covered her cherry lips with her jade-like hands. Prodigies who could reach the 3000th step had unimaginable potential and battle strength. Even Li Ruolian herself didn't have enough confidence to win against them. Didn't this mean that even if Lin Chen didn't use those despicable moves back then, he could still easily pass her test? This brat is so mischievous. He actually hid his strength so deeply. In the blink of an eye, Lin Chen had already surpassed the Dragon Sun Empire's Azure Dragon Crown Prince and the second place Xiao Yu. When he reached the 3700th step of the stone platform, his speed started to slow down. At this moment, the dragon's power had reached the limit of what the Azure Dragon arm could handle. Lin Chen had to rely on his flesh shell, battle chi cultivation, and even spiritual energy to resist the excess dragon's power that the Azure Dragon arm couldn't handle. He has surpassed Xiao Yu. Is he going to break Lu Jianqing's record? The candidates held their breaths and stared at the number of steps that Lin Chen had jumped. They were even counting silently in their hearts. Are you kidding me? I have already decided to start from True Dragon Mountain and look down on all the prodigies in the Waste Realm. How can I let a brat ruin my plan? Lu Jianqing, who was on the 3951st step of the stone platform, opened his eyes. They were sharp and domineering. His sword chi was awe-inspiring. When Lin Chen was close to the 3942nd step of the stone platform, Lu Jianqing used his finger as a sword and used the little battle chi he could muster. He pointed 2 of his fingers and a faint green sword mark flashed across the sky. It was pointed directly at Lin Chen. How dare he launch a sneak attack? This Lu Jianqing is too mean and narrow-minded. When Lu Jianqing made his move, the candidates and the instructors all had the same thought. Although there was no rule against fighting on True Dragon Mountain, it was despicable to sneak an attack. How dare you sneak an attack on Brother Chen? I didn't want to mess with you. You're courting death. Lin Chen activated his purple-golden eyes and leaped onto the stone platform like a dragonfly skimming on the water surface. He leaped onto the roof and vaulted over the wall. He turned around in the air and easily dodged the green sword mark. Hee, you can't hit me. Are you angry? When Lin Chen brushed past Lu Jianqing, he even gave him the middle finger. In the end, he landed on a stone platform that was 1 step higher than Lu Jianqing's. He even did a moonwalk, and was just ahead of Lu Jianqing on the 6th step of the stone platform. Lin Chen was on top of Lu Jianqing's head. They were only 3 meters apart. Damn it. This brat has a lot of tricks up his sleeve. I can't believe he can still do that under such a powerful dragon force. Lu Jianqing, who was furious, could only sit back down and gnash his teeth. However, Lin Chen never played by the rules. He stood on top of Lu Jianqing's head and smiled innocently like a child. Sire, you've just ambushed me and yet you're still able to sit back and cultivate calmly. Such shamelessness is truly admirable, truly admirable. With a smile, Lin Chen took out a pair of mask and a pair of custom-made gloves from his storage ring. After putting on the gloves and the mask, Lin Chen took out a greenish-brown bottle from his low-rank storage ring under everyone's curious gazes. The low-rank storage ring that he got from the Xunwu sect was Lin Chen's treasure trove. It was used to store some of the most powerful items in the world. Looking at the bottle in his hand, Lu Jianqing had a bad feeling about it. When he opened the bottle, a horrible stench swept across the sky like a storm. The griffin beasts that were used by the teachers and elders all backed off. Even the spirit cranes that were thousands of meters above the ground were scared and flew away. It stinks. This brat is holding the poop of a high-rank green wild bear. He has a bottle of poop with him. Lin Chen looked at the bottle in his hand with satisfaction and introduced it to Lu Jianqing carefully. 1982 green wild bear poop, the essence of an omnivorous beast. Look at the color, the humidity, and the softness. This is a great treasure. Lu Jianqing felt a chill run down his spine. Is this brat going to? After the introduction, Lin Chen smashed the bottle of treasure on Lu Jianqing's face. You're eating poop. Chapter 60. F***CK. Lu Jianqing cursed when the whole bottle of green wild bear's feces fell on him. He was already at his limit at level 3951. It was extremely difficult for him to operate his battle aura and move. When Lin Chen threw the feces, he had no chance to dodge at all. Bang! The whole bottle of green wild bear's feces fell on Lu Jianqing's head and splashed all over him. The horrible stench filled the sky. The candidates and instructors activated their battle aura and saw what was happening. They all burst into laughter. Ha! Lu Jianqing was drenched in feces. What a talent! Devil! You can mess with anyone in the future, but never this Lin Chen. This is so disgusting. Lu Jianqing is in a dilemma. If he retreats, he will miss the baptism of the dragon power on True Dragon Mountain. He deserves it. Who told him to sneak up on others? What a despicable guy. On the cliff outside True Dragon Mountain, the girl in green was laughing so hard. Sister, this Lin Chen is really bad. Judging from the forces and people he helped along the way, he shouldn't be an evil person. However, he should be a young man who will definitely take revenge. If you want to blame someone, blame that person for messing with him first. The girl in purple pursed her lips and smiled. This person's cultivation was not high, but his way of doing things was completely unique. While everyone was cheering, Lu Jianqing glared at Lin Chen as if he was looking at his father's murderer. However, before his hatred and anger could erupt, a certain Lin held a torch in his hand. It is said that the feces of beasts that have been left for a long time can easily ignite and explode. Please be careful when you play with fire. Also, explosions are art. The moment Lin Chen threw the torch down, he quickly turned around and dashed to a higher level. F***CK, this bastard! Lu Jianqing immediately turned around and jumped down the mountain. However, he was still one step too late. When the torch touched his hair, it suddenly burst into flames. Bang! The green wild bear's feces on Lu Jianqing's body suddenly burst into flames and exploded. Run! Run! *T exploded. Lu Jianqing got *T exploded. The moment Lu Jianqing exploded, the examinees at the foot of the True Dragon Mountain scattered in all directions in fear. They activated their battle chi to defend themselves, and the shooting stars that were blooming in the sky continuously fell to the foot of the True Dragon Mountain. The explosion had almost affected some of the geniuses on the True Dragon Mountain. Fortunately, they had activated their defenses and arrived in time. Otherwise, they would have ended up like Lu Jianqing. Even the instructors took a few steps back. They were almost hit by the fireworks that exploded in the sky. This brat is really daring. Isn't he afraid of offending Lu Jianqing? Talent, what a talent! Ha ha! Lin Chen galloped all the way to the 4,100th step of the stone platform. The draconic aura began to obstruct Lin Chen further. When the bald elder and the Vice Academy master saw this scene, they looked at each other, and both of them were puzzled. That's not right. According to common sense, the draconic aura formed by the stone platform above the 4,000th step is already very powerful. Even if these little guys are at the 9th level of the Battle Soul Realm, they would still find it hard to advance. However, the draconic aura's effect on this brat is strangely small. Seeing Lin Chen rush past the 4,200th step of the stone platform, even the Vice Academy master and the bald elder did not understand what was going on. When he reached the 4,270th step of the stone platform, Lin Chen was already close to his limit. The draconic aura at this height was enough to completely suppress his physical strength and mental strength. Even the Azure Dragon arm could not bear the burden. If he used the true flame purple phoenix wings, he might be able to reach a higher height. At this moment, the draconic aura was being absorbed by the Azure Dragon arm. The consciousness hidden in the Azure Dragon bloodline began to awaken a brand new power. Boom! In less than a quarter of an hour, the Azure Dragon tattoo on Lin Chen's left arm throbbed. The Azure Dragon blood hidden in Lin Chen's body had awakened a new memory, and was transmitted to Lin Chen's mind. Divine ability. Azure Dragon Soul Splitting Claw condenses the dragon's aura to unleash a large-scale dragon breath attack. After using it, you will enter a weakened state. When in a weakened state, your strength will decrease by 4 to 50%. When Lin Chen accepted and fused with this memory, a look of ecstasy appeared on his face. System congratulates the host. The host's Azure Dragon bloodline has been tempered by the ancient draconic aura and awakened a new divine ability of the Dragon Clan. The system popped up a light screen. Lin Chen suppressed his excitement. This divine ability was not a battle skill. Lin Chen still needed to cultivate it himself before he could use it. Lin Chen activated his purple gold eyes and discovered that there seemed to be a faint and powerful mental fluctuation hidden above the true Dragon Mountain. Why is this draconic aura similar to the aura I sensed before? What is it? Suddenly, after Lin Chen calmed down, he discovered that the draconic aura that tempered his Azure Dragon arm was similar to some mental fluctuations. This kind of mental fluctuation, where did he feel this kind of aura before? I remember now, it's the dragon tendon grass. Lin Chen slapped his thigh, and a look of understanding appeared in his eyes. This Sky Dragon Mountain was originally formed by an ancient dragon, and the dragon tendon grass and the true Dragon Mountain were of the same origin. The relationship between the two could be said to be inseparable. However, because of the preciousness of the dragon tendon grass, no one would use it carelessly. They would only treat it as a precious medicinal ingredient, so naturally, no one would discover this secret. However, this range did not include Lin Chen, who was an anomaly. For 270 steps, this kid is so much more outstanding than Lu Jianqing. What a monstrous talent! He has broken the Academy's 1,000-year record. If he enters the Academy, he will probably be directly inducted into the inner courtyard, right? The teachers and elders exclaimed again and again. The examinees were both envious and hateful. If someone at the 5th level of the spirit-detecting realm could enter the inner courtyard, then didn't that mean that the rest of them were not even at the 5th level of the spirit-detecting realm? For these geniuses who had been recognized since they were young, this was not a small blow. Let's go, let's go. If we keep watching, we won't be able to survive. We are still missing one dragon tendon grass, so let's hurry up and pass the exam. Some of the disheartened people sighed and left. Just as they were about to leave, another examinee exclaimed, "Look, what is that Lin Chen doing? Everyone looked over and saw Lin Chen sitting cross-legged on a stone platform with charcoal and steel wire netting. He was actually starting a fire. On the other 2 stone platforms near him, there were seasonings and large amounts of dragon tendon grass. They saw him skillfully skewer the dragon tendon grass with bamboo sticks, start a fire, add oil and sprinkle seasonings. The battle chi spurred the fire, and the fire grew bigger. In the blink of an eye, the dragon tendon grass was cooked. Roasted tendon, I like to eat it. Lin Chen hummed a little tune and stuffed 2 skewers of dragon tendon grass into his mouth. What is he doing? He is actually roasting dragon tendon grass on true Dragon Mountain? What the f***ck? He is deliberately showing off. There is so much dragon tendon grass. My God, he is actually roasting dragon tendon grass on the fire. Bastard! What a reckless waste of God's gift. I am still missing 1 dragon tendon grass to pass the exam. He is roasting dragon tendon grass to eat? He's king insane. Those examinees who hadn't collected enough dragon tendon grass were so angry that they gritted their teeth and flew into a rage. They almost vomited blood because of Lin Chen. Some of the alchemy department's elders and instructors were going crazy. Quick, stop this guy. This brat is crazy. He is definitely a madman. That is dragon tendon grass. The Sky Dragon Mountain Range only produces a few thousand stalks a year. This brat took a few bites and dozens of stalks disappeared. We cannot interfere with the usage of the dragon tendon grass. Calm down, Elder Xing. Calm down, you motherf***cur. Chapter 61. When the elders and instructors of the alchemy department were about to go crazy and rush up, the vice principal spoke in a deep voice. According to the rules of the examination, no one is allowed to interfere with the way the examinees use or obtain the dragon tendon grass. Or do you not want to stay in the academy anymore? With that said, the elders and instructors of the alchemy department gritted their teeth and sighed deeply. On the stone platform, Lin Chen was lying down and eating, sitting down and eating horizontally, eating in all sorts of different ways. That kind of enjoyment and comfort made the examinees' hearts burn with anger. Seeing this, the elders' hearts were bleeding. F***ck. More than 100 stalks of dragon tendon grass were eaten by this brat like snacks. What a wastrel, what a waste! 1 stalk of dragon tendon grass could be used as the main ingredient for a 3rd-level spirit-type pill. 5 stalks were essential ingredients for a 4th-level spirit-type pill. These 100 stalks were the main ingredient for eating more than 100 3rd-level spirit-type pills. This was a huge loss for any top power in the wasteland region. The 3 instructors who saw Lin Chen roasting more than 100 stalks of dragon tendon grass a few days ago snickered in their hearts when they saw the alchemy department elder's heartache. Who told you old fellows to put on airs? If you knew that this brat also roasted more than 100 stalks a few days ago, wouldn't you be angered to death? Elder sister, what is he doing? The green-clothed girl at the edge of the cliff outside the true Dragon Mountain asked curiously. He seems to be eating a rare heavenly treasure. It seems to be the ingredient needed for this examination. That's why they are so nervous. The purple-clothed girl smiled with interest. This person was really unique. His style of doing things was completely unpredictable. On the true Dragon Mountain, Lin Chen, who had eaten more than 100 stalks of dragon tendon grass in one go, realized that the pressure of the true Dragon Mountain's dragon might on him had decreased a little. It's indeed useful. This dragon tendon grass and the true Dragon Mountain are of the same origin. I guessed correctly. While everyone was still feeling heartache and anger, Lin Chen soared into the sky and began to rush to a higher position on the true Dragon Mountain. 4,270 steps, 4,350 steps, 4,495 steps, 4,761 steps. This speed of advancement left everyone dumbfounded. He actually reached the 4,800th step. The bald old man, who was walking in the air, trembled as he spoke. 4,800 step. Didn't that mean that this kid's potential was unrivaled in the desolate region? The examinees, who were still fuming with rage, were now looking at Lin Chen, who was in the clouds, in a daze. How did this fellow suddenly run up more than 500 steps of the stone platform so energetically? I understand. It was the dragon tendon grass. The dragon tendon grass can resist the dragon might of the true dragon mountain, allowing this child to walk on the true dragon mountain's stone platform as if he was flying. The experienced and knowledgeable Vice Dean immediately clapped his hands and cheered, suddenly coming to a realization. Thinking back to Lin Chen's behavior a few days ago, Old Bald slapped his forehead. No wonder this brat could rush up to the 4,800 stone step. It turned out that he had eaten a large amount of dragon tendon grass. Lin Chen, who was standing on the 4801 stone platform, stood firm and wiped his sweat. I've reached my limit again. I have to roast another batch of dragon tendon grass. How troublesome. I might as well finish it all at once before rushing up. Lin Chen was just about to set up the grill again when the ground suddenly shook violently. Boom, boom. The earth rumbled, and a force that could change the terrain came from the mountain next to True Dragon Mountain. Not good, the volcano is about to erupt. Old Bald squinted his eyes and appeared beside the teachers. Old Bald, should we suppress the volcanic eruption? There are still so many examinees nearby. A teacher suggested. Old Bald shook his head. Suppressing the volcanic eruption while also preventing the volcano from rebounding and endangering the examinees. This would require too much manpower, so it's not suitable for us to act now. You guys work together to activate the Battle Chi defense and evacuate the examinees. Just stay a distance away. What about the examinees on True Dragon Mountain? True Dragon Mountain has the protection of the dragon might, and these little fellows aren't simple people. The power of the volcanic eruption won't affect them too much. Don't worry. Old Bald waved his hand and began to instruct his men. Lin Chen, who was standing on the stone platform of True Dragon Mountain, looked down at the volcanic crater a few miles away from True Dragon Mountain. The intense and violent fire energy was boiling and brewing, about to erupt. So it's a volcanic eruption, eh? Wait a minute, a volcanic eruption. I have a bold idea. Lin Chen suddenly thought of a plan and clapped his hands in praise. On the other side, the teachers and elders landed on the ground in an orderly manner. They stood in front of the examinees and activated a bowl-shaped battle chi barrier to envelop everyone. When the examinees heard the teacher's announcement and knew that the volcano beside True Dragon Mountain was about to erupt, they began to gradually evacuate and retreat to a further location. Prince Lin Chen, Shangguan Bihan stared worriedly at Lin Chen, who was on True Dragon Mountain, among the examinees. The power of the volcanic eruption was concentrated at a high place, so it was inevitable that it would affect Lin Chen. The wind and clouds suddenly changed, and the temperature in the air rose sharply. Smoke billowed, and a blazing wave swept across a radius of 100 miles. Suddenly, an examinee exclaimed in shock. "Look, what is that Lin Chen doing?" Everyone was stunned, and when they looked in Lin Chen's direction again, they couldn't help but suck in a cold breath. They saw Lin Chen holding a 10-meter-long silver steel skewer and stringing countless dragon tendon grass together, placing it right above the volcanic crater. Not to mention the examinees, even the elders and bald elder twitched their mouths when they saw that there were no less than 1,000 dragon tendon grass. Seeing the position where he placed the dragon tendon grass in the air, all the teachers and elders were shocked. A terrifying and crazy conjecture popped up in their minds at the same time. Over 1,000 dragon tendon grass. That was equivalent to 200 examinees passing the exam. Lin Chen didn't care at all. He held a 100-meter-long silver steel skewer and strung over 1,000 dragon tendon grass together. He then covered the surface of the steel skewer and the dragon tendon grass with his wood elemental and water elemental battle chi to prevent them from being burnt due to the high temperature. Seeing this scene, the examinees had a thought that made their scalps numb. He placed over 1,000 dragon tendon grass above the volcanic crater. No. Many examinees even cried bitterly on the spot, as if their hearts had been cut by countless blades. Even if the dragon tendon grass was sold to them, it would be good. That was the golden key to passing the Heavenly Song Academy's exam and walking to the peak of martial arts. How many geniuses had lost this first step and didn't even have the chance to spread their wings and fly? Damn it, more than 1,000 dragon tendon grass. I don't care so much anymore. If I let this brat continue to spoil it, I will go crazy. A few elders of the medicine refining department couldn't hold back anymore. They wanted to ride on their griffins and fly into the sky, wanting to snatch Lin Chen's dragon tendon grass. Bang! Rumble! The earth-shattering explosion shook the earth, causing a large number of griffins to retreat in fright. A raging firestorm erupted from the crater of the volcano. Like a scorching sun, countless streams of lava fell from the crater. The moment the volcanic crater erupted, all the dragon tendon grass were burned in an instant. Everyone would never forget this moment for the rest of their lives. The moment the volcanic crater erupted, Lin Chen held 4 to 5 seasoning bottles in one hand and threw them into the air. After being hit by the first wave of high temperature, the jade bottles suddenly exploded. The seasoning that filled the sky scattered on the huge skewer of grilled dragon tendon grass, making sizzling sounds. After the volcanic crater blew, the spicy fragrance of the grilled dragon tendon grass swept through the entire True Dragon Mountain. Time seemed to have stopped at this moment. The youth grabbed the stone platform with one hand and stood several thousand feet above the ground. He held a silver steel skewer and flipped the steel skewer on the volcanic crater, roasting the dragon tendon grass. The volcanic lava flows to grill the dragon tendon grass. Done. Chapter 62. Among the examinees, a certain person couldn't help but clap. In the front, there's this Ling's wire flicking the east wind, and behind, there's this Lin's volcano roasting gluten. So coquettish, so coquettish. It smells so good. At the edge of the cliff outside True Dragon Mountain, the green-cloved girl's delicate nose gently sniffed the spicy fragrance that drifted over. Her beautiful eyes lit up, filled with extraordinary splendor. This fragrance is fused with the purity of that mental energy, so it seems to make one's mouth water. The purple-clothed girl smiled elegantly, her delicate and soft hands waved away the light purple battle chi, protecting the girl beside her and herself. After a few rounds, Lin Chen pulled back the steel skewer. When he smelled that extraordinary fragrance, he couldn't help but eat heartily. Looking at Lin Chen, who was wolfing down the food, everyone present was dumbstruck. Gulp! The teeth of the instructors at the bottom of True Dragon Mountain chattered as they swallowed their saliva with difficulty. Using dragon tendon grass as a barbecue and using a volcano as a barbecue rack, since ancient times, was there a second person? In this mortal world, other than this Lin Chen, there was probably no second person who could do such a thing that overturned the ages. The instructors and elders of the alchemy department were in a daze, their faces pale. The value of these 1,000 portions of dragon tendon grass was no less than a green-level pill refining handprint. There's actually such a strange man in this world. Shangguan Bihan covered her red lips with both hands, her beautiful eyes shining with extraordinary splendor. He's actually still moving forward. Some examinees discovered that Lin Chen was actually continuing to charge upwards, and couldn't help but be shocked. 5,000, 5,200, 5,500 steps. Lin Chen carried his super long roasted gluten and ate as he climbed up the mountain. In the end, he actually disappeared from everyone's sight. Even with the use of battle chi, it was difficult to find his figure with the naked eye. He's reached the 6,000th step. Even the vice principal's face was full of seriousness, and he took in a cold breath with every word. 20,000 feet above True Dragon Mountain. A youth's figure flashed past and landed steadily on the stone platform. Lin Chun carried the 1,000 portions of dragon tendon grass, singing loudly all the way to the 8,000th step with an unstoppable momentum. There must be some treasure at the top of this mountain. Is it another characteristic rune? The excited Lin Chun opened his mouth and bit down on a few skewers of roasted dragon tendons. His draconic might crumbled even further as he rushed towards the peak at full speed. By the time he reached the 9,500th step, Lin Chun had already finished eating all of his roasted dragon tendons. He burped in satisfaction, and then his eyes narrowed. True flame purple phoenix wings, go! Chi! A pair of blazing purple wings appeared in the air. Lin Chun leapt into the air like a meteor breaking through the sky. In a single breath, he rushed up the 9,600 steps of the stone platform and reached the top. The peak of True Dragon Mountain was a steep slope. The dragon's might here was vast and filled with intense spiritual energy fluctuations, transmitting the mighty dragon's will. It was supreme and its might was still lingering. The dragon's might here was tyrannical. Even the vice principal and bald elder didn't dare to rashly take the test. However, Lin Chun stepped on this place without any pressure. Lin Chun was ready for battle. When he activated his purple-gold pupils, he discovered that there was a kind of energy similar to the fluctuation of life on the mountain peak. However, this energy was too weak and minute, to the extent that it could be ignored. Walking to the other side of the slope of the mountain peak, Lin Chun saw a white ball of light floating in the air. Beside the white ball of light there was a banner. That minute fluctuation of life was emitted from the white ball of light. What is this thing? Lin Chun frowned. After confirming that the ball of light didn't seem to be a living thing and wouldn't pose a threat to him, he slowly approached it and placed his hand on top of the white ball of light. Whoosh, 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 the sound of energy flowing entered his ears. This white ball of light actually passed through Lin Chun's left arm and merged into his body. Boom! Crack, crack, a pure spiritual energy, like a dragon returning to the sea, merged into Lin Chun's body. His spiritual energy burst forth with the sound of an eggshell cracking. After the first crack, a spiritual fluctuation that was several times stronger than the previous one emerged. The host has received 20,000 points of spiritual energy. His spiritual realm has broken through to the spiritual realm. My spiritual energy has broken through to the spiritual realm. Lin Chun was delighted. This white ball of light was actually pure spiritual energy? When he had picked up a large number of spiritual energy balls at the Treasure Appraisal Convention in Wanling City, Lin Chun's spiritual energy was very close to the spiritual realm. This time, with the help of the spiritual energy in this white ball of light, he stepped into the spiritual realm in one go. Suddenly, a huge tearing pain spread from Lin Chun's dantian to his entire body. Lin Chun instantly fell to the ground. Hiss! It hurts. What is this? Lin Chun hurriedly used his battle chi to look inside his body. In his dantian, other than the endless sea of energy, a pale white ring was gradually forming. After this ring formed, Lin Chun's pain gradually disappeared, making him break out in cold sweat. After carefully sizing up the white ring, Lin Chun discovered that when he used his Azure Dragon bloodline, his bloodline would actually gather towards the white ring. The Azure Dragon bloodline only filled 1/10 of the white ring, and there was no other reaction. This ring has formed some kind of connection with my Azure Dragon bloodline. Other than that, Lin Chun didn't discover any other problems. Lin Chun asked the system, but even the system didn't know anything about the white ring in his dantian. This made him very puzzled. The white ring in his dantian couldn't be driven away or destroyed. He didn't know whether it was a blessing or a curse. Perhaps when his azure dragon bloodline reached a certain level of strength and completely filled it, he might be able to find out what this thing was. Damn it, being possessed by such an inexplicable thing really makes me feel uncomfortable all over. Lin Chen stood up and slightly released his spiritual energy. The range of his perception was several times wider than before. My spiritual energy breaking through to the spiritual realm is not a small gain. Retracting his spiritual perception, Lin Chen walked forward. When he uncovered the banner, shock appeared in his eyes. So it's a man. At the bottom of True Dragon Mountain, after controlling the position of the examinees and ensuring their safety, Bald Elder and the Vice Principal looked at each other. This kid has been up there for so long and still hasn't come down. Could something have happened? Don't worry, this kid has a lot of trump cards. If something happened up there, there will definitely be a big commotion. Let's wait and see. This Sky Dragon Mountain has a long history, this kid might not. While the two were still discussing, an afterimage rushed down from the top of True Dragon Mountain. Everyone looked carefully and saw that it was Lin Chen. Good kid, I actually let you run to the top of True Dragon Mountain. Are you alright? Vice Principal immediately sized up Lin Chen and found that this kid was full of energy and in high spirit. He didn't look like someone who was not alright. Examinee Lin Chen greets Vice Principal and Senior Bald Elder. Lin Chen was neither servile nor overbearing. He held the banner and cupped his fist. Many teachers and elders also gathered around. The examinees were even more expectant as they stared at Lin Chen with anticipation. Kid, since you're alright, can you tell this old man what's at the top of True Dragon Mountain? Bald Elder stared straight at Lin Chen and stroked his chin as he asked. Lin Chen, kid, don't worry. Whatever you get up there is your opportunity. We won't snatch it. If you feel that telling us will cause unnecessary trouble, you have the right to refuse. Vice Principal smiled gently and gave Lin Chen a way out. Lin Chen shook his head and smiled indifferently. He then passed the banner over and shrugged his shoulders. There's only this banner up there. There's nothing else. Vice Principal took the banner and opened it. Everyone looked at it together. The banner was engraved with 4 handsome sentences and a short string of explanations. Vice Principal, teachers, elders, and the examinees who saw the banner for the first time read it out in unison. Boundlessly handsome, the heavens as the shore, the mountains as the peak, I am the peak. Millions of handsome, passed down through the ages. Single player, seeking defeat. Signed, Millions of Single Player King. If you want to inherit my handsomeness, please add 47951424. Everyone's expression changed from bewilderment to shock. Boundlessly handsome, the heavens as the shore, the mountains as the peak, I am the peak. I'm the heavens, I'm the peak, I'm the highest. This senior is so domineering. But what's the meaning of millions of handsome, passed down through the ages? Single player, seeking defeat? Could it be that the owner of this banner is so handsome that no one can rival him? Bullshit. What do you know? How could an existence that can reach the top of True Dragon Mountain emphasize the word handsome? There must be a secret hidden in this banner. The examinees and teachers were all shocked and amazed. The secret of True Dragon Mountain was not even completely unraveled by Heavenly Song Academy. Today, such a mysterious banner was actually taken down. At this time, another examinee asked in doubt. This senior said that he still has an inheritance? What's the meaning of 4795144? Don't think too much. This kind of existence is unfathomable. It's not something that we mortals can figure out. Suddenly, Lin Chen coughed in a serious manner. Everyone looked at him. At this time, Lin Chen looked up at the sky at a 45-degree angle and said seriously in a melancholy and deep voice, I heard that in this world there's a small group of people who are shockingly handsome. They're rare in the world. Only this group of people can find an ancient divine beast penguin and unlock this secret. The examinees were anxious and expectant. They asked in unison, "Then how can we find that ancient divine beast penguin?" "I don't know either." Lin Chen suddenly shook his head in a very lonely manner. Everyone was startled. They only heard Lin Chen sigh deeply. "Because I'm not handsome enough." Chapter 63. Lin Chen had just finished sighing when he suddenly felt a familiar yet unfamiliar energy fluctuation. He was startled and turned around to look. He activated his purple-gold pupils and looked 100 miles away. In the mountain range that had been ravaged by the volcanic lava, on top of a cliff dozens of li away from True Dragon Mountain, two otherworldly beautiful figures entered Lin Chen's eyes. Among the two figures, Ze and the other two had a huge amount of energy hidden in their delicate bodies. Lin Chen was very familiar with this energy. It was a characteristic rune. At this moment, the two girls had already started to turn around and leave. Their movement techniques were superb and unpredictable. In the blink of an eye, Lin Chen had already reached 1,000 meters away. If it wasn't for his purple-gold pupils being high enough, he wouldn't even be able to catch their shadows. "Beauties, please stay." The matter related to the characteristic rune was extremely important. Lin Chen didn't care that he was in front of everyone. He leaped into the air and the true flame purple phoenix wings spread out. He streaked across the horizon and turned into a purple meteor that chased after the two girls at an extreme speed. "Oh my God, that Lin Chen flew away? He can actually fly. What is his cultivation level? Phoenix wings? How can this brat have such a thing?" "No, that direction is." The examinees and mentors were all shocked. Only the vice principal's expression changed greatly. "Everyone listen to my orders. You are not allowed to go near Lin Chen's direction or area. Disperse immediately." The vice headmaster suddenly shouted, causing the examinees to be filled with terror. "Old Xiao, what's going on?" Bald Elder was completely baffled by the vice principal's actions, and he questioned, "I don't know where this brat got his ability. He seems to have sensed the existence of those two." The vice principal said with a serious face. Bald Elder seemed to have thought of the certain forces he mentioned earlier and his expression suddenly changed. "You mean the two girls from there?" Bald Elder lowered his voice, afraid that a third person would hear him. The vice principal nodded seriously. He was also frightened by Lin Chen's action. At this point, Bald Elder already knew what to do. He evacuated all the examinees, teachers, and elders. They could not stay any longer. As for the vice dean, he stood still and observed Lin Chen's situation. Lin Chen caught up with the two mysterious women who had been watching from the cliff. Although they were fast, they were still within the range of Lin Chen's purple-golden pupils, as if limited by their cultivation. The speed of the true flame purple phoenix wings was unleashed to the extreme. Lin Chen only used a dozen breaths to close in on them. "Sister, that Lin Chen actually discovered us and even caught up to us." The green-clothed girl turned around in surprise. The purple-clothed girl's beautiful figure paused, and her movements stopped. The two girls stopped beside a small stream. Boom! The true flame purple phoenix wings flapped. Lin Chen stopped and landed in front of the two girls. He looked at the purple-clothed girl excitedly, and the first sentence he said was astonishing. "Miss, can I touch you for a while?" The two girls thought that he had chased over for some important matter. They did not expect that he would suddenly say such a teasing and indecent sentence. "Lecture? You want to tease my sister? I thought you were a strange person. I didn't expect you to be a despicable person." The green-clothed girl, wearing a veil, glared at Lin Chen and scolded coldly with a frosty face. "Oh, little girl, it's a misunderstanding. I have received strict professional training. I don't molest girls easily." Lin Chen hurriedly waved his hand and stole a glance at the woman in purple. Her exquisite and perfect figure and her ethereal temperament made her look like a fairy that had descended from the heavens. She was so stunning that Lin Chen couldn't help but add a sentence. Unless I can't help it. The green-clothed girl held her forehead and circulated her battle chi. She was about to teach Lin Chen a lesson when the purple-clothed girl waved her hand and stopped her. She slowly took a step forward. In the short span of 2 months, you advanced from the chi refinement realm to the spirit detecting realm, injured the sect leader of a battle soul realm sect, destroyed the entire blood sect by yourself, saved the appraiser family of the wasteland, turned the tide in the treasure appraisal conference, and personally created a person with the bloodline of the Azure Dragon. Your actions are unusual and unique. Along the way, there should be many girls who have interacted with you or were attracted to you. Why are you joking? Mr. Lin Chen, I hope you can give me a reasonable explanation. I can pretend that you didn't say anything. The purple-clothed girl casually listed Lin Chen's various deeds. He was so scared that he took a few steps back with a frightened face. Wow, this fairy, although everyone knows that I am very handsome, you don't have to be like this. Being a stalker is not a good hobby at all. You are making me look back 3 times when I go to the toilet at night. Pei, do you have any shame? Why would my elder sister like an ordinary person like you? Even if you are shameless, there should be a limit to your shamelessness. The green-clothed girl was so angry at Lin Chen that she stomped her feet. The purple-clothed girl, on the other hand, was calm and composed, as if she was not affected at all. She elegantly smiled. You are indeed very interesting, but you still haven't answered my question. Lin Chen was startled. He shrugged his shoulders and shamelessly smiled. I just have this kind of hobby. When I see a beautiful girl, I just want to touch her. How about Miss Fairy considerate? Any position is fine, even hair is fine. I swear on my character that I will just touch her once. You can have any reward you want because I, Lin Chen, am also an alchemist. Lin Chen revealed his identity, and the purple-clothed girl's beautiful eyes slightly narrowed. You are also an alchemist? Fine, I want a rank 7 pill. If you can take it out, I will consider your conditions. Holy shit. Lin Chen's eyelids twitched a few times. Rank 7 pill? Even if he sold himself to a duck's nest, he wouldn't be able to get 1 in 10,000. Just where did these 2 great aunties come from? This, a rank 7 pill, is a bit difficult. If you can write an IOU, it won't be a problem. Lin Chen rubbed his hands. The purple-clothed girl gave a rare playful smile. Then there is no room for discussion? Yes, Miss Fairy's request is a bit too much. Regardless of whether there is room for discussion or not, I will definitely touch you today. Lin Chen's expression turned serious. Since the other party had no intention of negotiating, he would use the hard method if the soft method didn't work. A real man should be able to be soft and hard. This girl's body had a characteristic rune fluctuation, and it was even stronger than the previous 2 times. It was definitely a very strong characteristic rune. Lin Chen only needed to circulate the rune's energy the moment he touched the other party's body, and he would have a chance to obtain the characteristic rune. I think you are the 5 elements despicable. The green-clothed girl's tone turned cold as she rubbed her fists. Wrong. This handsome guy is the 5 elements despicable, and I especially want to touch beautiful girls. Lin Chen patted his chest and said righteously, You? Seeing the green-clothed girl's rare deflated appearance, the purple-clothed girl covered her mouth and chuckled. Then she said again, Sure, I will give you 100 rounds. With your strength, if you can touch me, then I will let you touch me. In the elegant and ethereal laughter, there was a calmness that could calm the winds and clouds and control the situation. Lin Chen stared at the purple-clothed girl's eyes, and his pupils suddenly shrank. Chapter 64. Oh, since the beauty has given me a chance, then I will definitely guarantee that I won't touch the important part. Lin Chen touched the tip of his nose, and his expression gradually became serious. This fairy-like woman was very strong. This was a fact that Lin Chen's intuition and instinct had told him. Most importantly, she was only at the War Soul stage, but she did not drop any attribute light balls. This proved that there was an extremely terrifying gap between the other party and him. Ching-er, you can leave. The purple-clothed woman waved her hand lightly, and the green-clothed girl nodded obediently. Then, she looked at Lin Chen with a teasing gaze. No one knew better than him how powerful his sister was. In the direction of the true Dragon Mountain. This brat is actually going to fight with those two? The vice principal walked in the air. His pupils trembled as he watched this scene with trepidation. If the other party suffered any losses, it would not be something that his Heavenly Song Academy's branch in the wasteland could compare to. After Bald Elder finished arranging for all the examinees and instructors to leave, he also came to the vice principal's side. Before he could speak, a loud explosion came from afar. Lin Chen took the lead. Bang! Boom! The ground shattered. The shock wave exploded. Purple flames surged into the sky and surged past. Lin Chen did not plan to hold back this time. He maintained the state of the true flame purple phoenix wings and superimposed his movement technique. His speed was many times faster than before. Purple flames filled the air. In the air that was burning intensely, the youth's slightly fair palm reached out and attacked the purple-clothed woman's chest. Shameless! The green-clothed girl gritted her teeth, but the purple-clothed woman remained calm. Lin Chen planned to copy the plan he used to deal with Li Ruoyan. First, he would disturb the other party's state of mind, and then he would scheme against the other party. Let's go. The purple-clothed woman's slender fingers gently lifted, and a transparent battle chi wave popped out of thin air. Chi! Bang! The surrounding area was instantly shattered by the shock waves of battle chi, and the ferocious force sent Lin Chen, who was attacking at high speed, flying. What a powerful battle chi! However, it's still within my expectations. Lin Chen twisted his body in the air. When the true flame purple phoenix wings flapped, his entire body turned into a streak of light and almost instantly arrived behind the woman. Lin Chen attacked with lightning speed, his 5 fingers already leaving behind afterimages as he attacked the purple-clothed woman's waist-length hair. Left, right, right. The purple-clothed woman gracefully turned around, her body moving gracefully like a graceful swan with endless transformations. Her slender and perfect waist instantly dodged all of Lin Chen's attacks. What? Lin Chen didn't believe it. His purple-gold eyes activated the purple lightning realm, and his spiritual energy was released to the extreme. With the two combined, he could even accurately detect the movements of the purple-clothed woman's hair. Lin Chen's palm struck her waist, and the purple-clothed woman seemed to have predicted Lin Chen's actions in advance. Like a fish leaping through the dragon's gate, she nimbly turned around in the air above Lin Chen's head. Lin Chen's palm missed, and her slender hand grabbed Lin Chen by the back of his collar. The purple-clothed woman spun in the air and threw Lin Chen to the ground with a loud bang. The ground cracked, and strong winds rolled up in all directions. Lin Chen was shaken to the point that his blood and qi were churning, and his face was full of disbelief. It wasn't his own prediction, but his actions were completely predicted by the opponent, and she defeated them one by one. Could it be that her spiritual energy is higher than mine? Or does she have a secret appraisal technique that's even stronger than the purple gold eyes? Do I have to use the slowing rune now? Thousands of thoughts flashed through Lin Chen's mind, but in the end, he still didn't believe it, and fiercely gritted his teeth. As long as I have enough strength and speed, even if you predict my actions, it's useless. Azure Dragon Bloodline, release! The slowing rune was Lin Chen's only trump card. The opponent's background was not ordinary, and if he didn't succeed the first time, there wouldn't be a second time. Lin Chen decided to hold back for now. Roar! A dragon's roar that shook the ages tore through the sky, and a ferocious and violent azure dragon arm appeared. This time, Lin Chen decisively released 80% of his strength, 400,000 tiger power. This hooligan's strength is really strong, and he's even stronger than the mortals my sister and I have seen before. The green-clothed girl silently commented from the side. Phoenix wings and dragon arm, what a strange combination. How can a mortal's body contain two completely different strengths? The purple-clothed woman was surprised, and Lin Chen's azure dragon arm suddenly smashed over. 400,000 tiger power erupted from within the azure dragon arm, destroying everything in its path, splitting rivers and overturning seas. A strong wind swept up the water in the small stream, and it sprinkled down from the sky. The purple-clothed woman's expression did not change, and her beautiful eyes under the veil shone with a noble light that ruled over everything. 100 flowers chaotic dance. Her jade-like hand was placed horizontally in front of her, and countless flowers danced chaotically. They were like flickering lights and passing shadows, dancing on Lin Chen's massive azure dragon arm. The terrifying destructive spinning force blew Lin Chen and his azure dragon arm into the sky. What kind of joke is this? I have already released 80% of my blood meridians, and it can still remove all of my strength? Lin Chen, who was spinning rapidly in the air, felt a little dizzy from the spinning, and a smear of shock appeared in his heart. The power of his palm strike earlier was already at the late stage of the Earth Realm, and even a 7th or 8th level Earth Realm expert would not be able to receive it so easily. Lin Chen was even more unwilling. The true flame's purple phoenix wings flapped, and his body turned into an afterimage in the air. He raised his azure dragon arm and slammed in all directions, hitting the purple-clothed woman on the ground. Boom, boom, boom. The azure dragon arm caused the ground to collapse and shatter in all directions. The vice principal and bald elder were shocked. They were shocked at Lin Chen's strength. This child's spirit connection realm cultivation was actually able to burst out with destructive power that regular Earth realm experts didn't have. At the same time, they were even more afraid that Lin Chen would injure the purple-clothed woman. If that great aunt was injured, the entire college would be in trouble. But under the continuous attacks of the azure dragon arm, the purple-clothed woman didn't even get a single scratch. She leisurely dodged all the attacks with lotus steps, and a transparent battle chi revolved around her, deflecting all the flying rocks. After the azure dragon arm struck violently, Lin Chen used all his strength to use his mental energy to detect the opponent's movements. After dozens of strikes, there were already signs of his mental energy being exhausted and his chi and blood being exhausted. With his current body refinement strength, it wasn't enough to support the azure dragon arm at full power for too long. Wait a minute. Let's take a break. Lin Chen panted as he withdrew his azure dragon arm and true flame's purple phoenix wings. He landed on the ground and simply sat on the ground, shouting for a stop midway. Hey, how can you be like this? The green-clothed girl stood in front of the purple-clothed woman and glared at Lin Chen. Forget it, Qing let him be. It's already been 75 rounds, it's okay to rest midway. After all, it's a fact that my cultivation is higher than his. If I'm too harsh on him, it'll be unfair to him instead. The purple-clothed woman pulled the green-clothed girl over. The latter wanted to say something, but seeing her elder sister's insistence, she could only obediently retreat. If this goes on, I might not even be able to touch her. How can I touch her? Do I have to gamble everything and use the slowing rune and azure dragon bloodline's full power? Lin Chen shook his head dejectedly. The opponent's strength was unfathomable. Even her battle chi was so strong that it was on another level. They were both in the Battle Soul realm, but compared to the Battle Soul realm that Lin Chen had encountered before, the difference was like the difference between a firefly and the moon. Even if he used the slowing rune, He didn't have 100% confidence that he could get close to her. Chapter 65. Judging from her movements just now, even if I stake everything and use the full strength of the Azure Dragon arm, I won't be able to break through her defense and touch her. What should I do? No matter if it's spiritual power or battle chi, I'm not as good as her. Unless I learn the Dragon Clan's divine ability from the true Dragon Mountain, I won't even be able to break through her defense. Lin Chen shook his head and took out a few skewers of roasted dragon tendons from the 4 rooms ring. He took a few bites to vent his dissatisfaction. Dragon tendon grass could replenish the spiritual power that was depleted, and it was more effective than elixirs. That's... When the girl in green saw Lin Chen take out the roasted dragon tendons, her eyes lit up. Even the girl in purple looked at him curiously. The 2 girls' gazes made Lin Chen have a thought. The plan was set. Lin Chen finished the roasted dragon tendons in 2 to 3 bites, clapped his hands and stood up with a smile. Come, I've rested enough this time. There are still more than 20 rounds left. I'll touch you. You can't do it. You're very outstanding, but it's only limited to this desolate region. The girl in purple looked ethereal. Under the veil, a pair of beautiful eyes flashed as she looked at Lin Chen indifferently. Then let's try it. Flapping the true flame purple phoenix wings, Lin Chen's speed reached the extreme again. The Azure Dragon tattoo on his left arm flickered. The Azure Dragon arm slammed through the air like lightning. In the end, it's only brute force. Looks like I've overestimated you. The girl in purple shook her head slightly. Her jade finger pointed lightly, and a transparent battle chi wave released an ancient pressure, instantly suppressing Lin Chen's Azure Dragon arm. Whoosh! Suddenly, the sound of rushing wind was heard, and an afterimage pierced toward the girl in purple like lightning. She scanned with her spiritual power, and couldn't help but be startled. That thing that flew over was actually the roasted dragon tendons that she was slightly interested in? Just as her consciousness paused for a moment, a grayish-white talisman popped out of thin air. The talisman fluctuated and had the power to seal demons and suppress demons. The host has activated the level 1 slow rune, consuming 3,000 rune energy. This time, Lin Chen used the maximum amount of rune energy that a level 1 characteristic rune could bear to forcefully delay the purple-clothed woman. It was also at this moment that Lin Chen's speed increased by another notch. In the time it took for a spark to fly off a piece of flint, he retracted the Azure Dragon arm. He pounced towards the purple-clothed woman. At the critical moment, the purple-robed lady's delicate body trembled slightly. The slow rune effect, which was able to delay a late-stage Earth Realm expert, was instantly shattered. The moment Lin Chen's fingertips were about to touch her, she instantly turned into an afterimage and disappeared. In the next moment, the beautiful figure of the purple-clothed woman appeared 1,000 meters away. Her long hair was like a waterfall, and she smiled gracefully. I've really underestimated you. You must have used this secret technique to destroy the blood sect that day, right? No, big sister, you were still touched by him. The green-clothed girl suddenly exclaimed in shock. Lin Chen, who had fallen to the ground in the air, revealed a smile. He raised his hand. When he opened his palm, there was a strand of light purple hair, soft and smooth. Host has received a level 1 characteristic rune, Recharge Rune. Recharge Rune consumes a large amount of rune energy to recharge the host. It can increase the host's offensive battle skill power by 110% to 200%. When the system screen popped up, Lin Chen's body shook. This characteristic rune's effect was much more direct than the slow and corrode runes. It directly increased the attack power of the battle skill by several folds. However, the surprise was not over yet. The strand of the purple-clothed woman's hair condensed into a purple attribute light ball in Lin Chen's hand. It automatically fused into Lin Chen's body. Ka! The sound of something breaking through shackles came from Lin Chen's body. His battle chi realm had increased again. Host has received 186,000 battle chi essences. Host has automatically advanced to level 6 of the spirit detection realm. What a terrifying amount! Just a single attribute light ball from a few strands of hair gave me over 180,000 battle chi essences. Compared to those so-called genius candidates, who knows how many times stronger I am? Lin Chen stared at the purple-clothed woman in shock. This was the first time he wasn't confident he could win against someone of the same age. There was an absolute difference in strength between the two of them. I didn't think that you would still encounter me. You actually used food to distract me. This trick isn't some brilliant technique. The purple-clothed woman waved her hand. The roasted dragon tendon that Lin Chen had thrown out earlier was still in her hand. The method doesn't matter if it's good or bad, as long as it's useful. Since the lady is interested in it, why not try it? Lin Chen grinned and stood up to pat the dust off his body. The purple-clothed woman hesitated for a moment before turning around and lifting her veil slightly. The beautiful scenery under the veil caused Lin Chen to be stunned. Her lips were cherry red. Her white teeth were slightly open as she gently chewed on the roasted dragon tendon grass. Lin Chen couldn't help but sigh. A fairy is a fairy, even eating roasted gluten can be so beautiful. The texture is unique. It's crispy on the outside and tender on the inside. It's a very unique delicacy. This is the first time I've eaten a delicacy with such a unique character. After carefully tasting it, the purple-clothed woman was full of praise. The green-clothed girl subconsciously swallowed. Thank you for the compliment. Lin Chen saw the green-clothed girl's reaction and raised his eyebrows playfully. What, you want to eat it too? Come, let Big Brother touch it and I'll let you eat it. Pay. Rogue. You still want to molest this lady? You're looking for a beating. What? Little grandaunt, how can you hit me? Damn, you're even touching my feet. That's too much. The green-clothed girl wasn't as easy to talk to as the purple-clothed woman. Her strength was also unfathomable. The moment she came up, she fiercely beat Lin Chen. Lin Chen couldn't take more than a few moves before he had to obediently hand over the roasted gluten to save his life. At least you know your place. This lady won't hold it against you for trying to take liberties with Big Sister. The satisfied green-clothed girl bounced back to the purple-clothed woman's side. Ching-er, it's getting late. We should go. The purple-clothed woman smiled helplessly. The green-clothed girl said reluctantly. Don't, Big Sister. Why don't we bring this Lin Chen back and make this delicacy for us every day? Hearing this conversation, Lin Chen was so scared that he broke out in a cold sweat. What was the background of this green-clothed girl? The moment she opened her mouth, she wanted to take him away and completely ignored his wishes. Treating this young master as a pet? Ching-er, if you continue to make trouble, Big Sister will send you back in advance. The purple-clothed woman's tone became more serious. The green-clothed girl immediately shrank back to her side and acted coquettishly. I say, fairy, who are you people? What's your name? Lin Chen asked curiously. You don't need to know. If you can surpass the Heaven Star border realm, you will naturally know our identity. However, it might be difficult for us to meet again in this life. Hee hee, that's hard to say. Tell me your name and see if I will find you a second time. No comment. I'll use the method of roasting gluten in exchange. I'll say it. My big sister's name is Ning Qingxian, and I'm Ning Qingxue. The method of roasting gluten did attract the green-clothed girl's attention, but she answered first in high spirits. The purple-clothed woman was helpless. If this continued, who knew how much information this girl would get from this Lin Chen? After thinking, she floated up and left with the green-clothed girl. Lin Chen looked at the backs of the two girls and muttered to himself. Ning Qingxian, huh? I'll remember it. Chapter 66. After the two girls left, Lin Chen put away his true flame-purple phoenix wings. After he broke through to the spirit realm, he could faintly feel that there were two eyes locked onto him during the battle. It must be the higher-ups of the academy, or maybe the vice principal. Now that I've obtained a new characteristic rune, it doesn't matter if I expose some of my trump cards. I'll find a place to cultivate the new dragon race's divine ability. Lin Chen activated his movement technique and disappeared into the tattered bamboo forest. Bald Elder and the vice principal, who had watched the battle between Lin Chen and the purple-clothed girl, looked at each other and clicked their tongues in wonder. I didn't expect that this little guy actually dared to fight with those two girls. Could it be that he's also from that place? Ha ha, looking at his nature, he shouldn't have that kind of bloodline and temperament. However, this kid's strength is really terrifying. Just in our wasteland, he's enough to be called an unparalleled genius. Even in the whole 24 regions, he can be considered a top-notch existence. If this kid enters the academy, it'll be lively this year. Bald Elder and the vice principal didn't delve into the matter on True Dragon Mountain. After all, after seeing that enigmatic banner, both of them thought that the treasure that once existed on True Dragon Mountain had already been taken away by the owner of the banner. There was less than half of the examination time left. Less than 4 days passed in a flash. In the Valley of Termination, in front of 2 ancient stone pillars, the mentors and examinees were all gathered here. The examination was about to end, and today was the day to verify the results. Some examinees were whispering, using their family's wealth to buy extra dragon tendon grass from the examinees who had extra. The mentors ignored this action, which could be considered as tacit approval. However, there were very few examinees who could really find more than 5 dragon tendon grass. Therefore, the majority of these dragon tendon grass transactions were done by examinees who only found 1 or 2 dragon tendon grass in the examination. They gave up on the examination and sold it to those who needed it, so that they wouldn't return empty-handed. Now we will begin to accept the dragon tendon grass. Please line up. Before the sun sets today, examinees who haven't arrived at the Valley of Termination will be considered to have failed the examination. The mentors and elders lined up in pairs and began to accept the dragon tendon grass. Xia Danyang, 5 dragon tendon grass. If you pass the examination, you will receive 50 credits and an outer court student jade token. Ling Ming, 6 dragon tendon grass. If you pass the test, you will receive 60 credits and an outer court student jade token. The examinees who passed the test were given a student jade token. After dripping a drop of blood on it, they were all arranged to stand behind the 2 stone pillars. After the examinees passed through the stone pillars, they would transform into ripples and disappear. It didn't really disappear, but there was a huge formation behind the stone pillar. After passing through it, one would arrive at the Heavenly Song Academy that countless people dreamed of. By the time it was afternoon, there were only 8,000 candidates who had passed the examination. Compared to the 80,000 who had participated in the examination at the beginning, only 1/10 of them had passed. Bai Juanhao and Shangguan Bihan stood in the crowd, looking around. At this time, they still hadn't seen Lin Chen's figure, making them a little nervous. Dusk shrouded the area and the examination results were about to end. Is there no one else? Then this test is officially over. There's still me. Just as the instructor was about to announce the results, the silver-robed youth descended from the sky. It's actually you. When the group of elders and instructors saw that the person who had come was Lin Chen, they couldn't help but gnash their teeth in anger. This brat had eaten over 1,000 portions of dragon tendon grass. He had caused the Academy's alchemy department to suffer heavy losses. Seeing Lin Chen's arrival, Bai Juanhao and Shangguan Bihan heaved a sigh of relief, as if a heavy burden had been lifted from their shoulders. Brat, hand over all the remaining dragon tendon grass on you to make up for your previous losses. Otherwise, don't blame the elders for being impolite to you. Several alchemy department elders threatened Lin Chen in low voices. He raised his brows. Fine. You dare to threaten me, Lin Chen. Lin Chen, don't mind playing with you. When those dejected examinees who had failed the examination saw Lin Chen and saw him, they gnashed their teeth in hatred. The main reason why they didn't pass the examination was Lin Chen. It was because he had taken away a portion of the dragon tendon grass from True Dragon Mountain. In fact, Lin Chen's dragon tendon grass was obtained from a treasure chest he had picked up himself. Similar to the attribute light ball, it didn't affect them at all. Mediocre people were just looking for excuses. When everyone saw the alchemy department instructors and elders glaring at Lin Chen, the examinees who had been eliminated looked at him gloatingly and stopped at the scene. Some of the prodigies who had ascended True Dragon Mountain also stayed at the scene and waited. They looked at Lin Chen with anticipation. As for Lu Jianqing, he looked at Lin Chen as if he wanted to kill him. Examinee Lin Chen, please hand over the amount of dragon tendon grass you have, the alchemy department instructors said indifferently. Unexpectedly, Lin Chen scratched his head awkwardly and grinned. Aya. Luckily, I've been searching hard for the past few days. I've finally collected enough dragon tendon grass for the examination. Lin Chen rummaged through his clothes and finally took out 5 stalks of dragon tendon grass. He placed them in front of the instructors and elders. The corners of their mouths twitched violently. There were only 5 of them? He had eaten more than 1,000 stalks before. Even if he didn't have enough, he should have at least a few hundred stalks on him. Brat, how dare you trick us? Several elders glared at him. Lin Chen stepped back in fear. He looked like a child who had made a mistake. Elder, I really don't have any more. I only have this much dragon tendon grass. Who would believe that? Not to mention the elders, even the eliminated examinees rolled their eyes. You roasted more than 1,000 stalks, and now you only have 5 stalks? How dare you trick us? Today we'll beat you up and search your body. 2 elders stepped forward. Lin Chen quickly shouted. Hey, what do you think you're doing? Heavenly Song Academy seniors are bullying their guests. Don't come any closer. If you come any closer, I'll shout for help. Seeing Lin Chenxing's wonderful acting skills, Bald Elder and the Vice Principal laughed. They knew that with this kid's strength, he was not afraid of ordinary elders and instructors. All right. Lin Chen brat, according to the exam rules, you have to hand over all the dragon tendon grass. The Academy will buy it from you in the form of credit. Credits can be used to buy any resources you want in the Academy. If you secretly hide dragon tendon grass, once discovered, you will be disqualified from the exam. Elder Bald tried to smooth things over with a smile. Lin Chen spread his hands. But I really don't have any more. If you don't believe me, I'll open my spirit storage ring and show it to you. Lin Chen removed his spiritual imprint and handed over his only 2 spirit storage rings. Even Elder Bald was stunned. Did this brat really only have 5 stalks left? An elder of the alchemy department rushed up and took his spirit storage ring. He opened it and released everything inside. Some bottles of elixirs and herbs fell out. In addition, there were some seasonings for barbecue, some strange things, and some books. The contents of the books were unbearable to look at. Like My Widowed Sister-in-Law, 88 Kinds of Hidden Postures, What to Do If You Do It for Too Long, the collection of single king stories, the correct position of the wardrobe, and so on. The men swallowed their saliva and the women blushed. There's really no more dragon tendon grass. Several elders of the alchemy department looked at Lin Chen in disbelief, only to find that Lin Chen was giving them a naughty smile. Their hearts suddenly tightened. It was over. This brat was going to cheat them. Chapter 67. He really didn't. Looks like this kid used up all the dragon tendon grass, he had in order to ascend the true Dragon Mountain. The bald old man said thoughtfully. Immediately after, he waved his hand and returned all of Lin Chen's belongings to his spirit storage ring. I told you I wasn't lying. Lin Chen shrugged his shoulders in a serious manner. The faces of the elders of the alchemy faculty twitched when they saw this. This kid was as cunning as a fox. He was even winking at them just now. He must have hidden it somewhere. The treasure chests and attribute light balls that Lin Chen had picked up, as well as the items from the treasure chests, could all be placed in the system's space. So, the elders couldn't find any place where Lin Chen could hide the dragon tendon grass. Alright, stop making things difficult for him. Look, he's such an honest kid. I've already shown you the spirit receiving ring. What else do you want? Bald Elder seriously criticized the few elders of the medicine refinement department who were leading the group. Hearing the words honest kid, the people who were eliminated almost fainted. Lu Jianqing was so angry that he almost broke his teeth. How could someone who poured sh*t on his head be called an honest kid? Little bastard, when you enter the academy, we'll crush you like a maggot. The elders of the alchemy faculty left angrily. Bald Elder personally handed Lin Chen an identity jade token. Candidate Lin Chen, your performance in the assessment was outstanding. You're designated as an inner court student. The moment Bald Elder announced the result, everyone had an as expected expression. Lin Chen was arranged to be among the 7 people on the other side. These 7 people were like Lin Chen. They were all top prodigies who had been promoted to the inner court. Prince Lin Chen, congratulations on entering the inner court. I knew that Big Brother would definitely enter the inner court. Bai Juanhao and Shangguan Bihan walked over and congratulated Lin Chen. You guys have to work hard too. With your potential, it's only a matter of time before you enter the inner court. Lin Chen smiled and nodded at the two. Among these people, it was still too early for the 2 of them to enter the inner court. Although their potential was strong, it hadn't completely erupted yet. Prince Lin Chen, you have to be careful when you enter the inner court. Bihan, look at those elders. Shangguan Bihan was worried and wanted to say something, but Lin Chen whistled nonchalantly. You still need to worry about me? Miss Shangguan Bihan has known me for so long, when have you ever seen me suffer? Hearing Lin Chen's teasing and confident tone, Shangguan Bihan covered her mouth and chuckled. She seemed to recall the first time the 2 of them met, and her face flushed red. The academy entrance examination, where everyone had their own thoughts, had officially come to an end. Bai Juanhao and Shangguan Bihan were taken away by the mentors. The 2 of them reluctantly said goodbye to Lin Chen. The 8 chosen inner courtyard students were brought onto the griffin and began a long flight. In order to prevent Lu Jianqing and Lin Chen from fighting, the 2 of them were arranged to sit on the backs of 2 griffins. Bald Elder gave Lin Chen a simple introduction of the inner court. First of all, the credits were the entire academy's currency. Even the elders and mentors could use them to buy medicinal pills, cultivation techniques, medicinal herbs, special cultivation venues, public classes, and specialized guidance from mentors. The outer court focused on public classes and training, supplemented by group cultivation, and the method of earning credits was relatively simple. The competition in the inner court was quite intense. The missions to earn credits were many times more complicated and dangerous than the outer court. Furthermore, not all outer court students could become inner court students. Every year, only a handful of students entered the inner court, and all of them were experts. Some students spent 5 years in the outer court and left after that. There were more than 900,000 outer court students, while there were less than 10,000 inner court students. The lowest cultivation of the inner court students was at the 3rd level of the Battle Soul Realm, and they were all extraordinary people. They were the elites of the elites. The top students in the inner court were all at the Earth Realm. There were even some young mentors who changed their profession from the inner court to mentors and continued to stay in the academy to teach and cultivate. So that's how it is. There are so many uses for credit. There are even special cultivation venues. Lin Chen was full of amazement. He was looking forward to this trip to the academy. He wondered what kind of attribute light balls he would pick up. Boom! Passing through the clouds, the griffins brought Lin Chen and the others into a whole new world. Originally, it was already nighttime, but after passing through the clouds, they arrived at a place filled with light. 2 dazzling balls of light hung in the sky. It was as if it was daytime. Mountains surrounded the sky, and pavilions stood in great numbers. Every mountain had a different attribute of spirit chi. In the center of the mountains was an ancient city. It was incomparably vast. 2 suns? No, it's like an artificial sun? Holy sh*t, this is awesome. Lin Chen swallowed his saliva. He finally understood why the Heavenly Song Academy was known as the gathering place of the strongest geniuses. Cultivating in this kind of environment and foundation, even a pig would be able to cultivate and stand out from the masses. Not to mention the geniuses who were 1 in a million or 1 in 10 million. Little fellows, your identity jade tokens have marked the classes you belong to. Now, you have to rely on yourselves to familiarize yourself with the inner court. Remember, you are not allowed to fight in the academy. Coincidentally, today is the academy meeting. The entire academy has gathered. You can go and find your classes first. With a wave of his hand, Bald Elder sent Lin Chen and the others to the bottom of the academy. Lin Chen and the others were sent to the center of the city. At the center of the city, tens of thousands of inner court students were gathered there. Every class was marked with a registration plate. Damn! Lin Chen's eyes lit up. The entire plaza was filled with dazzling attribute light balls. These inner court students were all stronger than Lin Chen, but their grades were not too different. Therefore, they would more or less drop attribute light balls around them. The amount of attribute light balls gathered by tens of thousands of students was not as much as the amount Lin Chen obtained outside the Mystic Heaven City. Calm down first. No one is fighting with me for these attribute light balls. I'll catch them all in one go after they leave. Lin Chen calmed his mind and flipped open his identity jade token. On it was written, Student, Lin Chen, Inner Court Class 66, Credits, 5, Inner Court Class 66. Lin Chen looked around and immediately noticed that at the edge of the square, there was a sign that said Class 66. The strange thing was that this Class 66 only had 23 students, which was twice as many as the other classes. Moreover, there was no living person within a kilometer. It seemed like they were isolated. Lin Chen silently walked to the last row of Class 66 and stood there. Seeing Lin Chen walk over and stand there, the red-clothed girl in the back row turned her mischievous eyes. Her eyebrows were like the faint moon, her short hair was soft, and her beautiful eyes were as bright as the stars, lively and sunny. The girl smiled and extended her snow-white hand to Lin Chen, indicating a friendly handshake. You're the new transfer student? Yes, I'm Lin Chen. May I ask who you are? Lin Chen returned her friendly smile and shook her hand. I'm Yu Lin. Nice to meet you. She smiled. Her palm was tender and warm. Lin Chen let go of it. There's something. Puzzled, Lin Chen stretched his hand back and found a transparent condom on his palm. Looking at its appearance, it was actually similar to the duck silk that Lin Chen bought on Earth. Lin Chen was shocked. Giving him a condom as soon as they met? What did she want to do in broad daylight? I'm a pervert with principles. When the male students saw that Lin Chen dared to shake hands with this little devil, they looked as if they had seen a ghost. Did this brat not know that she was the queen of pranks of Heavenly Song Academy? Miss, if you've thought it through, you can come find me at any time. Lin Chen put more emphasis on the word connect with a serious expression. Chapter 68. Lin Chen wanted to put his hands back into his pockets, but he realized that his hands were stuck. His palms couldn't open up at all. Damn, I've been tricked! Just as Lin Chen was thinking that he had been tricked, over a dozen figures appeared on the stage at the head of the plaza. The people on the stage were all the elders and veteran mentors of the college. A unibrowed old man walked out from the group of people. His aged face had a pair of sharp eyes like a falcon. After all the students had gathered, the unibrowed old man stood up. 2 days ago, due to the recruitment of new students, a large number of elders and mentors were out, which led to an extremely vile incident of female mentors being molested in the Outer Institute. After Mentor Su Ying and her husband were knocked out by a mysterious person, Mentor Su was abducted to the Green Moon Forest outside the Outer Institute. When Mentor Su was discovered by the other mentors, her clothes were in a mess and a large part of the Green Moon Forest was burnt. According to our investigation, we have already eliminated the possibility of an outsider. The culprit is most likely hiding in our Inner Institute. The unibrowed old man's words stirred up a huge commotion. All the Inner Institute students present were sizing up the people around them with astonishment and doubt. The two mentors, Mentor Su and her husband, are both at the second level of the Earth realm. There aren't many people in the Inner Institute who are able to knock them out and set them on fire. Class 60 SIXS Zhang Yu, what were you doing 2 days ago from noon to afternoon? Elder Yi Mei's sharp eyes swept towards Class 60 SIXS direction. Lin Chen's mouth twitched. What was this situation? It was Class 66 at the first roll call? Close to 10,000 students actually looked towards Class 66 and pointed at them as though the culprit was in the class. In reply to Elder, I was in seclusion cultivation in the Inner Institute. Elder Gu can testify. A burly and stocky young man from Class 66 of the Inner Court raised his hand and spoke in a low and muffled voice. And NR Mentorlung is aware that my movement skills and strength might be among the best in the Inner Institute, but I am still a virgin, why would I molest? Mentor Su, the boorish youths surrounding male students were trying their best to hold back their laughter. Some of them were even about to cry. Lin Chen blushed with shame. This man was a little too straightforward. Elder Yi Mei swept a glance at the cold and elegant woman with long legs and snow-white skin. After the cold-looking woman nodded, Elder Yi Mei continued to ask, Ing Liang from Class 66, what were you doing back then? The first person in the front row of Class 66 was a handsome young man dressed in white. When he was asked a question, he immediately stood up and answered in a calm and clear voice. Elder, at that time I was practicing my battle skills in the martial arts arena. Although I am a domineering person, Teacher Zhou understands me. When it comes to men and women, I've never forced anyone. The young man in white shrugged and spread out his hands. I like to be passive. Everyone was trying their best to stifle their laughter. Class 66, Gu Chenfeng. What about you? Elder Yi Mei turned to look at a red-robed young man again. The red-clothed youth had a devilishly handsome demonic charm. There was a faint bloodthirsty smile at the corner of his mouth as he sneered arrogantly. Why are you looking at me? If I make a move, the one who will be molested will be Instructor Su's husband. As soon as she said this, the male students of Class 66 silently took a few steps back. Lin Chen wiped the cold sweat off his forehead. What kind of class am I in? It seems that there won't be any substantial progress for now. For the sake of Instructor Su's reputation, we have decided to give this matter a Level 4 mission in the mission hall. If any examinees can find the mastermind behind this or provide relevant evidence, they will be able to obtain mission rewards. Elder Yi Mei's words shocked many of the students present. A Level 4 mission? I heard that the highest mission in the academy is only Level 6. The rewards will probably be very generous. Lin Chen rubbed his chin and his eyes lit up. Then, the Academy's elders went on stage to announce the changes to the special training grounds and the date of the next month's public classes. The Academy's arrangements and important reports were announced during the Academy's monthly meeting. The Academy meeting ended. The students discussed among themselves and dispersed. After a while, many people saw a silver-robed young man bending back and forth in the square, picking up and touching the ground. "What is this kid doing? I've never seen his face before. Could he be a new student? Don't go near him. This kid is from Class 66. Oh my God! He actually entered Class 66 as soon as he joined. What a ruthless person. Hurry up and stay away from him." Once they heard that Lin Chen was from Class 66, a large number of inner courtyard students acted as if they had seen the god of plague and hurriedly distanced themselves from Lin Chen. Host has received 611 points of spiritual power, 9,442 points of fire energy, 12,488 points of battle aura essence, 9,724 points of cultivation technique essence, 29,974 points of energy. Lin Chen completely ignored the discussions around him. He picked up attribute light balls crazily and was wild with joy. What is he doing? Yu Linlin, who had previously pranked Lin Chen, sized him up curiously. Crack! Lin Chen had just finished picking up attribute light balls when the sound of breaking through shackles came from within his body. Host has advanced to level 7 of spirit detection. The system's screen popped up. Before Lin Chen could even look at it, a pair of snow-white, smooth, and round legs appeared in front of Lin Chen's eyes and a woman's delicate fragrance entered his nose. Lin Chen raised his head and looked. A slender waist wrapped in a black short skirt and the ample peaks that were about to burst out of her clothes made him subconsciously exclaim in admiration. So fierce! Hearing this, Yu Linlin's beautiful face couldn't help but turn pale. The cold and elegant woman in the black dress, standing in front of Lin Chen, instantly had a frosty expression. Her jade-like hand grabbed Lin Chen's arm like a ghost. Whoosh! When her jade-like hand touched Lin Chen's arm, frost appeared everywhere. The bone-chilling ice battle aura froze Lin Chen's entire right arm. The cold aura dissipated. Lin Chen's right arm was frozen, but his left arm flickered with a dark green light as it wrapped around the cold and elegant woman's slender waist. Even though his arm was frozen by the ice battle aura, Lin Chen still smiled and said, "This beautiful big sister, isn't it a bit unreasonable to attack as soon as you come up?" Some of the inner court students who hadn't left yet were dumbfounded. This brat actually dared to take liberties with Ling Yueqi, the vice hall master of the punishment hall? Is he ignorant or bold? I see. So this is your trump card. The cold and elegant beauty said indifferently. Looking at Lin Chen, the cold and elegant beauty scolded with a serious expression. Don't be rude. Call me Instructor Ling Yueqi. I'm in charge of your Class 66. So she's the class teacher. Lin Chen came to a realization. Who would be able to resist such a beautiful homeroom teacher right from the start? Why aren't you putting away your perverted hands? Ling Yueqi's expression was cold, but Lin Chen only smiled mockingly. That will have to wait for Instructor to unseal me first. Seeing Lin Chen and Ling Yueqi going tit for tat and not giving in at all, Yu Linlin's eyes lit up. Smacking her cute cherry lips, Yu Linlin clicked her tongue in wonder. He's not even afraid of Demon Ling. As expected of someone who can enter our class. He's indeed a monster. Ling Yueqi's beautiful eyes narrowed slightly. She just wanted to test whether this brat's strength was qualified to enter her class. She didn't expect that he would restrain her the moment she attacked. Chapter 69. The power hidden in his left arm has the aura of a dragon. I'm afraid that if I forcefully suppress him, he will retaliate. Interesting. Ling Yueqi unsealed the frost battle aura on Lin Chen's right arm. How long do you want to hug me for? Ling Yueqi said indifferently. Lin Chen smiled embarrassedly and shrugged his shoulders. You can't blame me for this. It was you who made the first move. Lin Chen quickly retracted his left arm and retracted the aura of the green dragon arm. He returned to his harmless smile. You can barely be considered a seedling. In 8 days, I will hold a special class in the classroom. If you dare to be late, you will have to bear the consequences. Ling Yueqi threw a cold glance at Lin Chen and walked away with her long, snow-white legs. In the direction she left, all the students in the inner courtyard moved away, not daring to look her in the eye. Lin Chen, you're amazing. You're the first person to hug that demoness and come out unscathed. Yu Linlin bounced over, her beautiful eyes shining with curiosity as she sized up Lin Chen from head to toe. She was full of interest in him. I didn't really hug her. I was just guarding against her. Also, I don't want to play with you. Lin Chen waved his hand, decisively ignoring Yu Linlin, and walked away. It wasn't easy for me to find someone willing to talk to me. Yu Linlin moved gracefully and followed Lin Chen's footstep. Lin Chen maintained a distance of more than 3 meters from her. Seeing that this girl kept following him, Lin Chen asked casually, "Why do the other students run away when they see us? You still don't know about Class 66? Yu Linlin was very surprised. She smiled like a flower and stuck to Lin Chen's side, whispering softly. Class 66 is an unusual class in the entire inner courtyard. Those who can enter this class are considered the most troublesome and eccentric students in the academy. At the same time, they also have the best talent. They are called the ghost class. Yu Linlin's explanation made Lin Chen's mouth twitch. He felt that he was considered the most troublesome type by the vice principal and the bald elder. Qi. A ball of red dust was ignited by Lin Chen's fire attribute battle qi in the air and flew back onto Yu Linlin's tender body. She was startled. When did he discover that she had secretly used the 100-flower powder? The powder would make people itch, and it was one of the treasures that she often used to play tricks on others without anyone knowing. However, there are very few ways to remove it. Once infected, you need to soak in a special medicine to remove it. Yu Linlin, I've said it before, I don't have time to play with you. You can slowly scratch your itch. Lin Chen laughed mockingly and immediately activated his movement technique to shake off Yu Linlin. The young girl was stunned. She stomped her feet angrily and gritted her teeth. She was just about to chase after Lin Chen when a numb and itchy feeling came from her delicate body. Her pretty face instantly flushed red with anger. Lin Chen, this lady will remember you. One of these days, I'll make fun of you. Ah, it's so itchy. Lin Chen went straight to the academy's mission hall. There were a large number of missions listed on the bulletin board. Each mission had a clear level and reward. Some of the more dangerous missions were even categorized as team missions. Lin Chen found the mission that was given to everyone by the Front Yard Council. Investigate the case of Green Moon Forest's Instructor Su. Level 4 mission. Reward, 30,000 credit. Every second counted. After placing his identity jade token on the mission board and accepting the mission, Lin Chen left. 15 minutes later, in the Blue Moon Forest. Lin Chen found the Blue Moon Forest according to the Academy's map. He wasn't acting without thinking. He had a certain degree of confidence in finding the truth about this matter. Purple Lightning Generation. Lin Chen activated his purple golden eyes and the world changed greatly. In the half-burnt Blue Moon Forest, the air was still filled with charred ashes and fire attribute energy. A few figures flashed in the Blue Moon Forest. They were also students from the inner court who came to investigate. Lin Chen ignored them and focused on finding clues that would be useful to him. Lin Chen, who had cultivated to the 4th stage of purple golden eyes, had the insight to surpass all the appraisers in the wasteland. If even he couldn't find any clues in the Blue Moon Forest, then the chances of solving this matter would be very slim. This is it. In less than a quarter of an hour, Lin Chun was under a burnt 1,000-year-old tree. His purple-gold eyes caught a trace of ash scattering. This place had been burning for a longer period of time than any other place. This is where the fire started. The culprit started the fire here. However, it's very strange. There are no traces of battle chi. Lin Chen narrowed his eyes. Normally, the culprit who set the entire Blue Moon Forest on fire must be a fire attribute battle chi user. However, he didn't find any traces of fire attribute battle chi here. Could it be that the reason for the fire was to cover it up? Then what was the culprit trying to hide? Lin Chen continued his search. At the edge of the burned area, which was also the central area of the Blue Moon Forest, he made a new discovery. There were traces of ice attribute battle chi in this area. Under the raging fire, even a Heaven's Dipper realm expert would have a hard time discovering the remnants of ice attribute battle chi. However, under Lin Chen's purple-golden eyes, it was clear as day. This ice attribute battle chi extends all the way out of the Blue Moon Forest. Moreover, the footprints of this ice attribute battle chi are very small and light. It doesn't seem to have been left by a man. Lin Chen used his movement technique and followed the trail of ice attribute battle chi. At the end of the trail of ice attribute battle chi was an icy valley. It was a special training ground belonging to the academy. Only those who paid academic credits could enter to train. It was very helpful for students who cultivated water attribute and ice attribute battle chi to improve rapidly. There are too many students cultivating ice attribute battle chi in this valley. Even if I find them, I won't be able to distinguish them all with my purple-golden eyes. Lin Chen frowned. He had lost track of this clue at this point. Lin Chen was about to deactivate his purple-golden eyes and sit down to rest when his eyes suddenly lit up. He pushed open a piece of burnt wood on the ground. Amidst the ashes, a shiny pendant appeared. Lin Chen picked it up. It was a blue crystal earring. The crystal was a hexagonal refracting crystal. It was very exquisite. It can't be wrong. This earring has that person's battle chi. It belongs to the original prisoner. His eyes shone brightly. Lin Chen's lips curled into a confident smile. This result is really shocking. The next day, a shocking piece of news spread throughout the inner court. The academy was going to hold a second academy meeting. The academy meeting would only be held after a month. This was the first time in history that it was held twice in a row. Inner Court, White Jade Square. More than 8,000 students gathered at White Jade Square. Some students were unable to make it because they were out on missions or cultivating. Elder Ime, bald elder who was in charge of the exam, and the vice president were all present. There were also more than 10 instructors and senior elders who were standing on the stage. The person standing in front of the instructors and elders was actually Lin Chen. I'm very grateful to our vice president for holding this second academy meeting at the last minute. Regarding Instructor Su's case, I have already found the real prisoner. Lin Chen stood on the stage and faced all the students of the academy. He smiled confidently. His words stirred up 1,000 waves. Chapter 70. T, right? Even a Heaven Realm Grand Elder personally made a move and still couldn't catch the culprit. Where did this wild brat come from? This brat seems to be a new student from Class 66? To think that he's from Class 66. Could it be that what this brat said is true? Many doubts, discussions, and disdain could be heard from below the stage. Class 60 students also cast curious gazes. This new student had just arrived yesterday, and they had yet to truly understand what kind of person he was. As a member of the genius class, they were also curious about the unique potential and ability of Lin Chen, who was assigned to Class 66. Can you guys do it? Letting this brat hold an academy meeting for such an important matter? If we can't find the culprit, wouldn't it be a blunder? On the stage, Elder Ime solemnly transmitted his voice to the vice principal and bald elder. Hee, don't worry, old Ime. Let me tell you, when it comes to this brat, you'll never be able to completely see through him. Just leave it to him. He is the first young man in history to reach the peak of True Dragon Mountain. Bald Elder laughed strangely. The old man with one eyebrow looked at Lin Chen's back in amazement. His aged eyes were filled with shock. This young man had actually climbed to the top of the mysterious True Dragon Mountain? Today, I, Detective Lin, will lead everyone to reconstruct the situation at the scene of the crime. Lin Chen put on a pair of self-made sunglasses and said cheerfully, "Firstly, arson. Everything has a reason and motive. When the fire was discovered, it was already the time when the fire was at its fiercest. However, Instructor Su, who was in the Azure Moon Forest, did not suffer any injuries from the fire. This proves that there was another reason for the fire and not to destroy the evidence." Lin Chen pushed his sunglasses and continued, "Secondly, although Instructor Su Ying's clothes were in a mess when she was found, there was no direct evidence of her being molested by a man. In consideration of Instructor Su's psychological state, I won't go into the details here. All we need to know is that no one can prove that a man molested Instructor Su." Speaking of this, Lin Chen looked in a certain direction and the corners of his lips curled up slightly. Let's go back to the most primitive and abnormal part of the problem. Who was able to knock out 2 Earth Realm instructors and abduct one of them? Let's overturn our original thoughts. What if this person was a female? Then how many female students in the entire academy can do this? It could be said that Lin Chen's words had shocked everyone to death. His words caused all the inner court students and elders to have expressions of astonishment and disbelief. A female student molesting a female teacher? No one had ever dared to make such a bold conjecture. Could it be? Class 60 SIXS Lin's eyes lit up, as if she had thought of something. Anyone can talk nonsense, but you've been talking nonsense for so long, and everything is just your personal speculation. Do you have any evidence or clues to prove your speculation? I think you're just spouting nonsense and trying to cheat credits." The 2 white-haired elders held their crutches and looked at Lin Chen with cold eyes as they sneered. "Haha, elders from the medicine refinery department, don't be anxious. Didn't I just eat over 1,000 stalks of dragon tendon grass? It's not a big deal. Do you have to be in such a hurry to make things difficult for me?" Lin Chen glanced at the 2 elders in disdain. They were so angry that their faces turned red and were about to argue. "Enough. Stop talking nonsense. Student Lin Chen, take out your concrete evidence and clues. Otherwise, don't blame me for dealing with you according to the rules. You're the first one who dares to hold an academy meeting without permission." Elder Ime flicked his sleeves and said with dissatisfaction. The 2 elders from the medicine refinery department looked at Lin Chen with ridicule and retreated to the side. "Since I dare to stand on this stage, I'll tell everyone the truth. Back to the topic just now. How many female students are there in our academy who can knock out 2 Earth Realm instructors and abduct Instructor Su?" With Lin Chen's reminder, all the students subconsciously made the connection. There were no more than 5 female students in the inner court who could do this. Suddenly, a portion of the female students' expressions changed slightly. "Everyone, there's no need to make guesses among those few people. I'll give everyone another concrete clue." At this moment, Lin Chen opened his palm and an exquisite hexagonal blue crystal earring appeared on his fingertip. All the students present only needed to circulate their battle chi slightly, and they would be able to see the earring's appearance clearly. "I'm an appraiser. I used my appraisal skills to pick up this item at the crime scene. I'm sure it was left behind by the original culprit." Lin Chen's gaze suddenly locked onto a certain girl in the crowd. Isn't this Senior Su Lan's earring?" The moment the blue earring appeared, all the students looked in the direction of a certain class. Their gazes landed on a beautiful girl in a light blue dress. Her eyebrows were like snow, her eyes were like jade, her figure was exquisite, her skin was smooth, and her pair of delicate and full breasts were displayed in front of her. She had a tranquil and indifferent temperament, like a hibiscus that just emerged from the water, a blooming flower that was otherworldly and elegant. The beauty's snow-white neck was like an elegant swan. Her delicate ear-tip even had a blue earring that was extremely similar to the one on Lin Chen's hand. I heard that Senior Su Lan's Miss sect had a rule to recruit all sorts of beautiful girls. I remember now. There was a rumor that Senior Su Lan had a habit of liking beautiful girls. I remember now too. It seems like Senior Su Lan often instigated the juniors not to have boyfriends and not to trust men. Many of the astonished discussions echoed. Even the mentors and elders couldn't help but hold their breaths. This senior's cultivation is at the 3rd level of the Earth realm. Her strength is one of the few who could knock out 2 mentors. Secondly, the fire was to cover up the traces of ice attribute battle chi that Senior Su Lan left behind at the crime scene. After all, it is very dangerous for Heaven Realm elders to discover battle chi remnants, isn't it? Lin Chen pushed his sunglasses and suddenly pointed at Su Lan. There is only one truth. Senior Su Lan, you are the culprit. Lin Chen's heart was elated. On the 2nd day of entering the Inner Institute, he had already obtained 30,000 school credits. Under everyone's gazes, Senior Su Lan didn't panic in the face of danger and let out a graceful smile. This junior's analysis and deduction are almost perfect. I am impressed. But did Junior forget something? My earring is a pentagonal refracting blue crystal and not a hexagonal one. Senior Su Lan gently removed her earring. Everyone carefully compared the 2 earrings. The 2 earrings were 90% similar, but Senior Su Lan's earring was a pentagonal blue crystal, while Lin Chen's earring was a hexagonal blue crystal. The culprit wasn't Senior Su Lan? Lin Chen took a closer look and couldn't help but twitch his mouth. Damn, it can't be. Brother Chen actually had a day where he capsized in the waves. Chapter 71. That's not right. I've already confirmed that the attributes and characteristics of the battle chi are exactly the same as the owner of the earrings. How can I be wrong? Could she have swapped the earrings on the spot? But there's no need for that. Those who know her would definitely know what her earrings look like. Moreover, there are so many teachers and elders here. Lin Chen's mind flashed with various possibilities. At this moment, a mischievous girl's laughter rang out. I know who the owner of this earring is. Everyone looked over. The person who spoke was also from class 66. It was Yu Linlin. If I'm not wrong, Senior Su Lan should have a twin sister, Su Lan. She's also wearing this kind of refractive blue crystal earrings. The elder sister's earring is pentagonal while the younger sister's earring is hexagonal. Senior Su Lan. Yu Linlin chuckled as he stared at the slender figure behind Su Gang and spoke slowly. Su Lan's expression changed. The beauty behind her was about to leave. I remember too. Senior Su Lan's twin sister, Su Lan's earring is this. When one of the female students spoke, a few of the instructors outside the arena immediately surrounded the 2 girls. The girl behind Su Lan looked 90% similar to her. She gritted her teeth and glared at Lin Chen angrily. So it's not the elder sister, it's the younger sister. When he saw that the 2 sisters were in the Disha realm, Lin Chen was enlightened. Su Lan, I'm asking you. When the incident happened, where were you? Why did your earring appear at the scene? Elder Ime asked extremely solemnly. Under his gaze, Su Lan appeared to be flustered and anxious. She wanted to explain. No, Elder Ime, it's not me. Then how do you explain this earring? It's made of the same material as the one your sister wore. Elder Ime, don't blame Lan. I'm the main culprit this time. At the crucial moment, Su Lan stood out and spoke resolutely. Hua. When she said that, all the inner courtyard students had interesting expressions. They were shocked and surprised. It was really the two sisters who did it. If word got out that a female student had kidnapped a female instructor, the entire inner court would be affected. Most importantly, many people were looking at Lin Chen on the stage in amazement. Just where did this kid come from? He had only been in the inner courtyard for a day, and he had already solved the level 4 mission that even the elders were helpless against. This brat actually figured out who the culprit is in just one day, as expected of a transfer student from the inner courtyard. Moreover, he's a genius who can enter Ghost Genius Class 66. He's indeed abnormal. All the students in Class 66 cast different looks at Lin Chen. Some were surprised, some were impressed, some were disdainful, and some were curious. It was very exciting. My name is Su Lan. You have committed the crime of endangering the safety of your instructors. The Miss School that you have established shall be disbanded immediately. No mistakes shall be allowed. As for your crimes, I'll decide them another day. Before the punishment is handed down, if you dare to take a single step out of the academy, even the forces behind you won't be able to protect you. Elder Imei scolded and announced the result. Su Lan turned pale, while Su Lan looked calm. There was a hint of indignation and resentment in her eyes as she looked at Lin Chen. This pretty girl is still glaring at me. This wouldn't have happened if I didn't commit the crime myself. Lin Chen was about to roll his eyes when Elder Imei walked over and announced solemnly, "Today, thank you, student Lin Chen, for helping the inner courtyard find the real culprit of this case. Special commendation. 10,000 credits plus the mission reward, a total of 50,000 credits. Little fellow, you climbed to the top of True Dragon Mountain during the entrance exam at such a young age. Your future is limitless." Elder Imei gave a rare kind smile, and it shocked all the inner courtyard students. This brat actually climbed to the top of True Dragon Mountain during the entrance exam? Because the inner courtyard students were proud and arrogant, and because the news was sealed, no one took the initiative to find out about the entrance exam. After all, that was the business of the outer courtyard student. Even if an exception was made, there were not many students who could be promoted to the inner courtyard. In an instant, countless burning gazes were directed at Lin Chen. All of them were filled with fighting spirit, disdain, and countless doubts. Good heavens, this old fellow made me, Brother Chen, the target of public criticism. Fine, I'll beat one of you up if you come. Lin Chen sneered in his heart, but on the surface, he was smiling. Senior, don't take it to heart. It's a small matter, not worth mentioning. Isn't it just True Dragon Mountain? You went up while eating gluten and singing. A small matter? Hearing this, the teachers and elders in the square all twitched their mouths. On the way to the combat skill pavilion, there was a small path in the bamboo forest. You actually climbed to the top of True Dragon Mountain. How did you do it? Yu Linlin followed behind Lin Chen, and asked curiously with her beautiful eyes sparkling. I just said, I went up while eating gluten and singing. Lin Chen looked at the 5,050 credits in his identity jade token, and said casually, Then how did you get up there? What's the reason? What's up there? Yu Linlin was like a curious baby, and asked Lin Chen in annoyance, Maybe it's because I'm handsome. After casually answering, Lin Chen suddenly felt a strong aura around him. He squinted his eyes and put away his identity jade token. He saw that in front of and behind the small path in the forest, there were more than 10 figures. Lin Chen, is it? You're just at the 7th level of the spirit detecting realm. How can you climb to the top of True Dragon Mountain? Gu Qinfeng, this brat is my prey, don't interfere. Get the F***ck out of my way, I'll be the first to teach this brat a lesson. These people were actually the geniuses of Class 66. Students, if you want my autograph, please line up. Lin Chen smiled casually, relaxed and leisurely. Brat, don't play with your mouth. The arena is less than 5 miles away from here. Do you dare to pick one of us to fight? This young master wants to see if you really have the ability to climb to the top of True Dragon Mountain. The blood-red-clothed youth, Gu Chunfeng, sneered. Class 66 had always been at odds with each other. They were unruly and had fierce internal conflict. Now that Lin Chen had climbed to the top of True Dragon Mountain, they all locked their target on Lin Chen. No problem. Not to mention picking one, even if all of you come together, there's no problem. What? The geniuses of Class 66 were furious. This new student wanted to overturn the heavens. Not to mention a new student, even a single student of the academy wouldn't dare to challenge all the students of Class 66 here. Good brat. You've got guts. Let's go, see you in the arena. Both sides were on the verge of fighting. Yu Linlin clapped his small hands excitedly. There's going to be a good show to watch. The Heavenly Song Academy's arena was built in a valley. Every day, hundreds of students would spar and cultivate here. Battles between strong cultivators were also one of the fastest shortcuts to breaking through the shackles. The inner court was filled with experts, and no one was willing to reject this kind of cultivation environment. However, a strange scene appeared in the Academy's arena today. It caused all the students in the arena to stop fighting. In the middle of the arena, on a large stage, an unprecedented scene appeared. Class 66, which was known as the Genius Class, had never been united. No one was willing to submit to anyone, but today they actually gathered in the same arena. Moreover, their opponent was only one person, the new student Lin Chen. Chapter 72. Hey, what kind of lineup is this? Class 60 SIXS Madman Gu Chinfeng, Frozen Heart Swordsman Xiao Sanqing, and the Dual Blade Demon Brothers are all on stage. Isn't this new student the one who solved Instructor Su's case, Lin Chen? This kid is not simple. I just asked the transfer students in our class. I heard that this kid not only climbed to the top of True Dragon Mountain, but also fought hundreds of students alone. He even roasted more than 1,000 portions of dragon tendon grass and ate them as snacks in front of everyone. What the F***ck? More than 1,000 portions of dragon tendon grass. Isn't that more than 100,000 credits? Many of the older students who were sparring in the arena had gathered together. Class 66 was a class that was always the talk of the town, let alone the fact that most of the older students of Class 66 were attacking a new student at the same time. Everyone, come at me together. Don't worry about me. I'm a very casual person. Lin Chen smiled and spread out his hands, as if nothing had happened. A bunch of trash, get out of my way. If I don't destroy this kid today, I won't feel at ease. Gu Chunfeng, who was standing in the front row, was so angry that the veins on his forehead popped out. His feet suddenly shook. Blood-red electric arcs jumped all over his body, and several blood-red lightning bolts burst out along the ground. Corrosive rune. Demon overturning earth seal. Raising his palm, the earth element battle aura surrounded by the aura of the runes, Lin Chen slammed his palm on the ground of the arena. A mysterious earth-overturning earth seal shook the entire arena with the pure strength of more than 50,000 tiger power, and instantly swallowed up the blood-red electric arcs. With one earth-overturning earth seal, Lin Chen flipped the 15 people in the arena into the air. He quickly flew over and chose Gu Chunfeng, who bore the brunt of the attack. You're courting death. Gu Chunfeng, who was flipped in the air, sneered disdainfully. He pulled out a crimson spear with lightning speed. The spear was like a wild dragon emerging from the sea, domineering and fierce. How can my sky-devouring spear be so weak? Gu Chunfeng felt something was wrong as soon as he made his move. He found that his battle aura was greatly restricted. There was a mysterious force in his body that was eroding his battle aura, causing the power of his battle techniques to be greatly reduced. The rest of the Class 66 students realized that they were in the same situation as Gu Chunfeng. They were bewildered and quickly distanced themselves from Lin Chen. Starlight flickered as soul seizing appeared in his hand. Lin Chen's hand spun the spear point in the air, and the afterimage of the spear point was like a large windmill as it spun downwards, smashing the bloody light with a loud bang. Like a hot knife through butter, Lin Chen's spear shattered Gu Chunfeng's attack. Lin Chen's spear was like a swimming dragon as he leaped into the air and sent Gu Chunfeng's blood spear flying. As Gu Chunfeng expelled the energy that was corroding his battle aura, he gritted his teeth and punched out furiously. "You're the first to leave." With a sweep of the soul-seizing spear, more than 50,000 tiger power landed squarely on Gu Chunfeng's body, causing him to drop more than 10 resplendent attribute light balls. The moment the attribute light ball flew out, Gu Chunfeng spun in the air and flew out of the arena. The seniors outside the arena all held their breaths, their eyes filled with shock. With Gu Chunfeng's super strength at the first level of the Earth realm, apart from the heaven-defying seniors who could suppress him, no one else could force him out of the arena in just a few moves like this new student. Rip! Just as Lin Chen landed on the ground, the sound of air being torn apart could be heard. A yellow-robed youth had a stern expression as he suddenly drew his sword. He was the first prodigy to shatter the corrosive rune energy that Lin Chen injected into their bodies. Suppressing star sword rain. The youth drew his sword, and sword chi rippled as resplendent starlight shot out in all directions. Every ray of starlight was a sharp sword chi that instantly formed over 100 rays of sword chi. Furthermore, the trajectory of the sword chi was unfathomable, and it was a sword art that could be executed at will. Class 60 SIXS genius prodigies were all demon-level prodigies, and any one of their sword moves was already at the perfection stage. Lin Chen activated his purple-gold pupils, and the seemingly sharp sword chi that filled the sky actually had hidden loopholes. These extremely fast sword chi were slowed down by at least 10 times in front of Lin Chen's spirit realm mental energy. Sword art? I know it too. The spear stored its spirit, and Lin Chen drew out a dark green sword. The fire turned into lightning, and the lightning contained the power of fire. Arcs of lightning crisscrossed the sword's edge. Slowing rune, myriad lightning thousand June sword. One sword turned into 1,000 swords, and Lin Chen's sword was as fast as lightning. Everyone could only see countless lightning lines flash past, and the starlight sword chi that filled the sky were sliced into pieces. My sword art has slowed down. What's going on? The yellow-robed youth's expression changed greatly. His sword art relied on speed to win, and speed was power. But the moment Lin Chen attacked, his suppressing star sword rain slowed down by more than 10 times, as if it had been stopped. There was no time to take a breather. Lightning struck, and the dark green sword slashed towards the yellow-robed youth's head. He raised his sword to fight, and the two swords danced chaotically as starlight, lightning, and fire exploded. Close combat was Lin Chen's strongest domain. Big brother, before I admit defeat, can I ask you a question? Seeing him so timid, Lin Chen shook his head and laughed. In this world, is there anything you don't know? Qin Xiaofeng's question made Lin Chen's mouth curve into a very coquettish smile. As long as it's something that can be pretentious, there should be nothing I don't know. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.